Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Tia. Welcome to my home in Pasadena. Come on in.
Hello, Homeworthy. I'm Wendy. Welcome to Southern California. Come on in.
Hi, Homeworthy. Welcome. My name is Sarah, and I would love for you to come in and welcome you to my home.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, my name is Tia. I'm a content creator and I live in Pasadena, California. Welcome to my home. Well, I had just recently gotten divorced and I decided that I needed a change. My daughter at the time had gotten married and was expecting my first granddaughter, and she moved to Pasadena. So, of course, I decided to come to Pasadena. So I walked into this home. It was it's from 1929. It was built as a Tudor, but it sort of didn't kind of know what it was. It was a little confused because I saw cottage. I saw a lot of different things, but I saw cottage because Tudors are a little darker. And so I walked through the home and I looked at it, and a lot of the things were missing. A lot of the old, beautiful vintage things that were here probably once someone had taken away. It had a pretty bad 90s remodel, the kitchen and that. And I walked through it, and at the time I had a friend with me, and the friend was like, okay, let's just get out of here. It's dark, it's not for you. And I don't know, I just felt like I wanted to keep walking through it. Something was drawing me here to keep walking through it. And I realized at the time that, for me, it was a mess. It was a full mess. And I was sort of a mess. I sort of needed to be remodeled again with a new life after being married for, more than half my life. And I felt like this house needed a fresh start. And so I think on an emotional level, we connected. And I walked through it, and I said, I went on the front porch and I told the realtor, okay, I'll take it. And she said, are you sure? Realtors don't usually talk you out of it. She's like, are you sure? It's gonna need a lot of work, it needs a new roof, it needs a lot of stuff. And I don't know, there's just something that drew me to this home that I felt like we could sort of help each other kind of get through those hard spots and kind of reinvent ourselves. So I bought the home and it's set in here, and I'm a retired interior designer. I don't do it any longer. I do it for myself. And for family and friends. So I sat, and at the time I was just emotionally bankrupt, and I was like, what am I going to do with this space? I sort of had a block, and I was watching a show one night, and there were these two ladies that I watched on TV, and they were funny, and I said, you know what, I'm going to call one of them. I need a break. I want someone else to come in here and sort of with fresh eyes and sort of tell me what they think, because this house was very confused. So that's how I met Amy and Kate, Amy Newsinger and Kate Martindale, and they were just amazing ladies, amazing designers and stylists, and Amy's an amazing photographer. I sort of sat back and just said, do what you need to do, which is not characteristic of me. I always have my hands in everything. And I came in and they said, what would you like? And I said, maybe like a little pied-à-terre. At the time I was feeling very Parisian, very, divorced Parisian lady. I wanted to kind of have an apartment in Paris, but my daughter getting pregnant and having my grandbaby kind of deterred that. So I kind of wanted to feel that way anyway. So we sort of set out a little bit, and maybe 3 or 4 months later, I came in. They had molding in the dining room, molding in the living room. That took about 4 or 5 months. I loved it. I decided, okay, I'm ready to tackle the rest of the house. I ripped the roof off. We had just done the dining room, and I decided, hey, I need to come in there and rip the roof off. Rip the roof off the dining room, rip the roof off the kitchen, because I felt like, those spaces, this is a very small home. And one of the things when you have a small home, you need to decide which areas you do your living in. And I decided for me, the dining room and the kitchen were areas where my family could get together for different holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, those kind of things. And the smaller interior rooms, like the bedrooms and everything, were okay to be tiny because you don't get much room in these little old 1929 cottages. I mean, this place is almost 100 years old. So I set out, took me about 2 years to renovate, off and on, and I'm super happy. I mean, I come home and I feel like now I'm probably about 4 years out from my divorce, and she's about 2 years out from her renovation, and I kind of feel like we met in the middle now. And what I suspected when I walked through in the beginning of how we sort of needed each other, and we were going to kind of get through it together, it's happened. And this is my safe space. This is a space where my things live, the things that make me happy. This is a space where my granddaughter comes to play and eat and chase my dogs. This is a place where my dogs are happy and they feel loved. And so I'm really lucky. I'm really lucky to be here. So this is the living room. This is a space that when I purchased the home initially, this is the thing that stood out. I called it my pizza oven. Although I still kept the same shape, it was horrific. And I spent a lot of nights thinking about what was going to happen here. But we sort of just redid it. We put a nice wood mantle on it. I had ordered a mantle from Paris, this beautiful mantle, and it didn't come in. I waited and waited and waited, and it didn't come in. And there was a point in which I needed to just move into my home. And so we decided, okay, well, I'm going to use that mantle when it comes in. I just don't know where. So we just sort of put a wood base on here. We put some fluted columns. We added this. This is the same marble you'll see throughout the kitchen. We had a leatherette finished, which is really nice. These are things that mean something to me. Like this mirror is a vintage mirror that I love. You very much can't see yourself in it. It's more of an art piece, but I just sort of love it, and it's come with me wherever I've been. She is obviously a reproduction, but I love her. I love the vintage way the paint's peeling. And even though she's not originally this dark, I think she's originally in bronze. I just love the paint. I love that someone painted her. And I bought this from a little vintage shop in Pasadena, but I love her. I collect vintage books. I love them. A lot of the times I can't read them. I don't know what they say, but I just look at the patina on that leather. I mean, it's pretty outstanding and amazing. This vase, I have a lot of these around the house as well. This is from Olive Atelier, a wonderful place in LA that a lot of people love to go to. And this area here, my bookshelf area, this was sort of just a big wall, and it had an old firebox because this house is from 1929. So, they had a lot of things like that in it. It was just a big hole, a big wall with a firebox. And I have a lot of books, and I have a lot of stuff. Like I told you, I'm a minimalist maximalist. I'm a girl who collects things. And these things just mean so much to me. I mean, like these opera glasses. I mean, come on. I mean, if I never go to the opera and use them, look at the pearl inlaid handle. I mean, just beautiful. So that's something that I love. This is an old French cigarette lighter. I mean, it doesn't work any longer, but I mean, it's beautiful. Old match strike container, old matches, again, old books that I collect. A lot of old books here, a lot of my design books. It's just a space where I can put things that I love. And I love him. He makes me happy. He's been in 5 or 6 different homes of mine, and he just sort of makes me very happy. And I collect a lot of prints. In this house, I felt like I had a lot of my big art from my other house here, and I felt like it was heavy. Because the walls, this is from 1929, it's a 1929 home, and the ceilings aren't that high. So in this kind of a home, big art, big paintings, they felt a little heavy. So I went into the Mary Poppins shed and storage bin, and I bought out a lot of my prints. And I feel like, I have a mixture here, but I feel like my prints work better in this house. It keeps it light. It keeps me able to breathe. So I have a lot of prints in this house, and also with some vintage art as well. I love it, but I have a lot of prints. These Kate and Amy found for me. Beautiful, beautiful wall lights. They have a vintage feel, and they're probably about 20 or 30 years old. So not vintage, vintage, which a lot of people will say that really is vintage, vintage, but you know, they're beautiful and I love them. And I sort of rotate my art. I have a lot of different art, like I said, in my storage bins. And some mornings I wake up and I miss a piece that I might have had in my other home. And so I rotate. So he's new. He's only been up here for maybe 2 months. I had something else up here before. But yeah, I love it. Makes me happy. But I bought this beautiful European sofa. It's the beige French. I mean, the boucle. I mean, it's everything that I love. Super comfortable. These are Scalamandre pillows that I love, 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 love. And I paired them with a beautiful vintage pillow that I found on Facebook Marketplace. Like, I can't even tell you the deal that I got off that pillow. Because if you look at the tapestry sewn into it, this is a piece it's just beautiful, absolutely stunning. So that's one of my favorite pieces, and she kind of makes a little rotation around. This piece right here, I wish I can remember the artist, and I can't, because my friend Amy Newsinger, who's like an amazing photographer, she gifted me this. A friend of hers, who's a photographer, created this beautiful portrait, and it's kind of hard to see. A lot of people don't see it at first, but it's actually a woman. It's actually a beautiful figure of a woman, and it's probably one of my favorite things. And you'll hear me say that a lot because I have a lot of favorite things, but it's probably one of my favorite things in my house. And with the sunlight coming in, sometimes you can't really figure out what you're looking at, but my God, at night, she's just stunning. I love her. So that was a gift from Amy, and I love that. I'll have that forever. This is a little French lamp that I bought when I was in Paris. Super cute. I love the knitting, the pink knitting fabric on the shade. It's just gorgeous. I've had that for a while now, and it comes out and finds its way around my house, but I absolutely love it. This table here is from the 80s, and this is the 80s modern that I was telling you that I love. I love 80s modern, but I love 80s modern with the flair that actually can come into, it could be, this table could have been made 2 years ago, but I love the lucite. I love mixing different metals and fabrics and finishes, because I feel like it gives the home, it lets it breathe a little bit. It's not so contrived, because you don't always like the same metal. You might like something in bronze, you might like something in silver, and I just love mixing metal. So that's one of my favorite pieces as well. I love this little table right here. My granddaughter loves coming too. This right here is this little French cigarette lighter, and I'm crazy about it. It's just amazing. It just makes me happy. I mean, I don't smoke, but if I did, I'd light it every day, and I'd sit and have a cigarette like a French woman and use it. But it's really pretty. It's marble, super pretty. Because it's the little things like that make a house a home to me. This is very special. I have 3 of these. In my home, I couldn't fit all 3 of them, so a couple of them live at my daughter's right now. But this is an artist in Miami. His name was Purvis Young. And he was a found object artist, and he was a homeless man for a while. And this particular oil, it talks about the Hurricane Katrina back in the day in Miami, where a lot of people died, and he kind of depicts a scene there where you see angels flying, and I mean, it's just stunning. And like I said, I have a couple of his works, and the reason why this is so special is because the story behind it is that Purvis had cataracts for a long time. So he would do a lot of paintings on things like cardboards that he would find on the streets, and anything that he found, he painted. And he has collectors like, major collectors who love that kind of art. Well, this particular one, he did, I think, 10 of these oils. And he did this after they did his cataract surgery. So this is something that he had never worked in oil. He just worked in painting boxes and cardboard things that he found on the ground. So this is one of 10. And the story is that a friend of mine, and my ex-husband's called us up and said, listen, I'm going to Purvis's studio, and he was a doctor friend who had worked on Purvis's eyes. He said, I'm going to his studio to pick out some art if you guys would like to come. So we tagged along, and at the time I was singing. I was a jazz singer at that time, and I was singing in Miami Beach. And so I was sort of kind of humming a little song. They were walking around looking at the art. My ex-husband and our friends were walking around looking at the art. Purvis was sitting in the room. I found my way over to him, and he said, I heard you humming over there. And I was like, yeah. And I explained to him I thought his work was beautiful. And he said, I want to show you something. And he showed me these. And I thought, like, I lost it. And I was like, oh my God, they're so beautiful. And his manager at the time said those weren't for sale. Like I said, he had just done these because he had his cataract surgery so he could see better. And he had just done, I think, maybe 10 of these. And so he said it wasn't for sale. Well, you know, I respected that. But Purvis said that he wanted me to have them. He's like, you know, she's an artist and she's a creative, and I know she'll take really good care of them. And so he gifted them to me, 3 of them. And so they've been with me for maybe 24 years. I've had them. And so, like I said, I have 1 now. My daughter has 2, but that means the world to me. It'll be with me forever. This is a vintage mirror from the 1800s. I love it. It's beautiful. I mean, the patina on it is bar none. I paired it along with a demi table, and this is also a vintage piece. I sort of like mixing vintage with modern. I know a lot of people do that and say that, and for good reason, because if you don't, you'll get, I mean, this could appear to be staunchy. If you just had this and a bunch of other pieces, which are fine, a lot of people like that. But for me, I feel like having this beautiful mirror from the 1800s, I mean, like, who looked in this mirror? You know, I often, when I look in the mirror, I think, who looked in this mirror before they left their home? Or where was this mirror? You know, maybe it was in a castle, maybe it was in a home down one of these old homes in Pasadena. I don't know, but I love it. This right here is a vintage umbrella stand that I absolutely love. Vintage umbrellas made of fabric, not nylon like the new ones. And so it's a piece that I love. I mean, we don't get a lot of rain here in California, but when we do, I'm ready. This is modern. This is a new piece that I bought. And I liked it because it reminds me of my granddaughter's hair. And every time she comes over, she needs a place to put her little shoes on, because we're a no-shoe home. So she always needs a place. So I got her this little thing, and she just thinks it's magical, and it moves a lot, and so I like it a lot. I forgot to tell you, these rugs are vintage. This rug here, love it. A lot of people think that you can't have vintage rugs when you have dogs. Well, you know, these guys, these are my road dogs. I live with them. They're my roommates, and they're allowed to go. I'm not a house where my dogs can't, you know, as you can see, go on my furniture. I do have beds in every room for them, but, you know, some of these little girls, they just like to sort of go. I actually made this little window seat for them because I thought it would be nice, and it's right by the air, and I thought they'd love it. And I put a vintage Suzanne on it, and I just love it, and they never go on it. She goes here. She goes here. And also, you see right here, in this little nook, like I said, this was going to be for my dogs and my granddaughter, but neither one of them. My granddaughter sits on it sometimes. But this little painting here is a vintage painting, and I literally started the colors of this room based on this painting. And I think I might have bought this painting for $10 somewhere, but I loved it. I thought it's everything that I am. I love the music. I love the musicality. I love the colors. I love the books in it. I love the, you know, they did do a little bit of limes, and I just love it. So this here is a beautiful little portrait that I found, I don't know, maybe on Etsy, I'm not sure. But the reason why it means so much to me in the realm of things is because she reminds me of, like, me. Like, as a little girl, like me, my sister. I have 5 sisters, and she just reminds me of me, my sisters, all the little black and brown girls that I knew growing up. You know, we had our little hair like that, and we had our little church dresses, and I don't know, she makes me happy, so I have her. I don't really have one design style. I feel like, just like, when you dress, some days you want to wear jeans, some days you want to wear, boho, some days you want to be tailored and classic. And I feel like for me, I've gone through like 5 or 10 different incarnations of what I like. And I have sort of kind of a Mary Poppins storage bin, sheds, and I have a lot of stuff because I came from a very big home at one point. So, and obviously this is a small home. So my style has evolved, and my style is sort of wherever I am and whatever I'm feeling emotionally attached to, that's my style. I mean, I love traditional. I'm a vintage girl, so you'll see a lot of vintage items in my home. I love the history of vintage pieces and the sustainability of them. I love a little edge of modern, but I like more of a 70s, 80s modern, not the black leather 80s modern, but sort of I like fine lines. I am a minimalist, maximalist at heart. I know it's kind of a contradiction, but for me, I go through moments where I need all my stuff. I need all of my stuff around me, and I'll go to my storage bin and I'll bring all my little knickknacks and things I might have found when I was on vacation and things that my mom might have given me, and I put all my stuff around me. And then I might live that way for a while, and then I wake up one day and all of a sudden I'm a minimalist, and I just can't take the clutter, and it becomes clutter for me. So at any given moment, any given time of year, any day, I can change. So my style really depends on where I am. And you'll see that displayed in my home. I sort of have a little bit, I'm an eclectic girl at heart, so. And so now we're in the dining room. And this room for me is a perfect square. It was and I love a perfect square. The dining room that's a perfect square, it wins in my book every time. But this room, when I bought the home, was closed off. Like it was closed off to the kitchen. So it was more wall and I think one little door that opened up, an old vintage door. I think it was a pocket door, and then you go into this kitchen. So I started with this square. And like I said, when I came in and Amy and Kate had already put the moldings up, like they asked me if I like moldings. I said, yeah. And they put moldings up for me, and I literally went in my head. I knew exactly where this house needed to be and needed to go after that. So we put moldings up. There were no moldings here. There was a built-in here, an old built-in, corner built-in that was really in bad shape, so I got rid of it. This piece right here, I bought off Facebook Marketplace. It's an old Baker cabinet, but it was reimagined, and I think that she did an amazing job, so I sort of love it. It keeps all my little treasures, all my favorite dishes. These dishes are amazing, and I love them so much, and they're from Sheila Bridges, and it's their Harlem Toile design, and again, it reminds me of my mom, me, growing up, and I have her whole collection, and I love, 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 love it. These make me swoon. I'm not a big drinker, but when I do drink my champs, I do drink them in these because they make me swoon. I have a lot of brass candlesticks around the house. I collect them. This is really cute because you can put this on there and put a flower in, and also you can take it off and put the thing, but it's all of vintage brass. I have a lot of vintage brass around the house, so this makes me happy. I like this little piece here. This table, vintage, old, from the 1800s, love it. Not perfect, damaged. It sort of sloops and slopes down here. I was going to get it fixed, but it's very sturdy, and I decided, you know what? The beauty in this is the brokenness, and it just makes me happy. So I kept it the way it is. You can't really damage it. I love the old oak color. The patina is amazing. I paired it with these modern, well, not real modern, but because they're probably from the 80s, 70s, 80s. These are Eames chairs, dining chairs. And I love the difference between the old and the new, per se. I love, love, love this piece here. This is a photograph that Amy gifted me, and she took it when she was in Paris. And again, Paris is my favorite city, so this means a lot to me. And I love the frame, and it takes me there. So I love it. This here is my makeshift bar, and a lot of my friends and family, they come over and they drink and they love it. And again, this is a beautiful, beautiful design by Sheila Bridges. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. I also like to pair that with a lot of vintage. I have some vintage shakers. I actually have a whole collection of them. And they didn't make the cut because it's a small house. But I have a lot of vintage shakers that I love. Can't beat this. But yeah, so this is my makeshift bar. These are probably the most, I want to say, expensive things in my home. They're these old chairs from the 1800s. Of course, they're recovered in this beautiful, beautiful velvet. Look at that. Look at the detail of that. In love. But I love these. And of course, there's only two. But I love them. And guess what? My dogs come and lay on them sometimes, and I can't really get mad at them. They just know quality. This mirror I got off Facebook Marketplace. The lady was moving back to Europe, and I mean, look at the pearl inlay. Like, really? I love it. It's one of my new favorite pieces. I absolutely love it. Those are vintage art lights that I love so much. And basically it. This is a small dining room space. Oh, and one other thing. When I redid this dining room, those windows were in the attic. Those two windows were in the attic. And these are original beams from the attic, and I opened it up. I forgot to tell you about this light. This is a little cutie. This is a Murano vintage light. And I put a little lace dolly around the top because I thought it was great. And I added one of those little pretty bulbs. But this is a Murano vintage glass light. I love it. But that wallpaper is also from 1925. I found like 3 rolls of it. And if you look closely, it has like dogs running around, which again, I love dogs, cherubs, and I just find it fascinating. And it definitely is a wallpaper that no one else will have. I think I have maybe 1 roll left, but it's stunning, and I love it. And it's what makes my dining room happy. And so these doors I found on Facebook Marketplace. I think they were side lights to a bigger door, but I fell in love with them. And so I bought a couple of them because I just had an idea where I just wanted a little bit of design. I didn't want to close it off because obviously I just spent a lot of money opening it up. But I wanted something of this era of the house, 1929, and these doors are around that era. So I had my wood guy add some, they were sort of up to here. And I had my wood guy add a piece of wood on the bottom. I put a little molding on it, and I just painted them. And I tell you, I love them. They make me feel like I'm in church. I love them. For me, the best compliment that someone can give me when they walk into my home is that they feel welcomed, and sort of they can feel the love, they can feel the intention. I do decorate with intention. I do everything around me sort of means something to me, or else it doesn't make the edit, because I live in a small space. And when you live in a small space, you sort of have to consistently edit and have things around you that just really mean something to you, because you don't really have the room to do other. But when someone comes to my house, like my granddaughter comes here, and she loves coming to see me, and she gets to run around, she gets to be at home, and that's what I want. I want when someone comes to my home to feel like it's their home, and that they can do, say, be whatever they are in their home, they can do it in my home. My favorite space in the house is, I would normally say my bedroom, because that's where I spend a lot of my time. And it's just my cozy little space where I can sort of just kind of be Tia and, look the way I want to look, be what I want to be, watch what I want to watch, But honestly, my favorite space, I would have to say now, since my renovation, is my kitchen. It's a very intentional space. I left a lot of space there. So again, when my grandbabies are here, they can run around. During holidays, you can fit probably 10, 15 people in there, cooking and roaming around. And so I would say the kitchen is a space that makes me feel whole. So this is the kitchen. Now this is probably the space in my house that's gotten the biggest bang. This and the dining room. As you can see, I still have some of the old attic beams going across. This whole area up here was attic. The kitchen was half the size. It went up to maybe here. And then there was a small door that went out to the side. And there was a rickety old bathroom behind it. And when I walked in here, I decided, you know, again, this is a small home. So what I wanted to happen is I wanted to be able to have the kitchen and the dining room as spaces that felt big, and that you can have a lot of people. Sometimes what I do with this is I move this butcher block. This is a vintage butcher block that I absolutely to die, love it. I move it down here, and then I have a table here that acts as another, you know, as another island, but also it has seating around it. So my granddaughter can come and sit, and she loves it. So today it's a little more open, but in this kitchen you can actually put a huge table, many chairs. I do it for the holidays, and I usually wrap vines and twines and lights around the beams, and it just sort of kind of becomes a winter wonderland in here. So this is sort of my favorite space. These I bought vintage at a Pasadena antique mart. It's really hard to find 3 of anything vintage. You're lucky if you find 2, but I found 3. And I thought because this kitchen is so long that it needed 3. And I held out until I found 3 of what I liked. But I found 3 of them, and I'm so happy. I love them so much. They're kind of a pain to clean, but hey, beauty's pain. So I love those. Again, this is an Ilve stove. I decided that I wanted to have a pop of color in here. And I love this stove. It's very European, very French. And I couldn't afford the La Cunu, so I got the Ilve stove, but I'm super happy with it. Love it. These change. I have a lot of vintage tile. And I change my tile behind my backsplash like people change, you know, whatever, but I change them. This is the incarnation. I think I've had these up for 6 months. I don't ever lay them. I have behind just so they can stick. And I live with them because I like different looks back here. And I do have the marble behind it. So sometimes I just take it off and I leave the marble behind it, but I absolutely love it. This hood, you have to look at it. It took like 3 different incarnations of this hood in order for us to get it right. He did it a little square before, and I just wanted it very sculptural and architectural, and we finally got the right shape on it, and then it was just white plaster. And I just decided one day, I called him up and I said, do you think we can faux this to look like this marble? But, you know, but I didn't want a big marble hood up here. It's not cost effective. It'd be like $1 gazillion. But I felt like we could get that look without it. And I mean, he did an amazing job. If you look at this marble here, the way this line comes up and goes, it actually, in the veining, it actually looks like it's this marble, but it's not. This hood is plaster faux. So he did a great job on that. This is marble. It's leatherette finished. I love the leatherette finish. It's sort of like a hone, but it gives you a little more texture, a little more shine, but not polished. Because I felt like this kitchen had so much light that if I did a polished, there would be light flickering off everything. Didn't want that, but I love it. I love it. This is also on my fireplace, if you notice, in my kitchen. Love this pot rack. I use them. I actually use them because I love to cook. These mirrors make me happy. Those are vintage. This right here, I bought from Olive Atelier, like I told you. And it has some of my special pieces in there that I love so much. I mean, look at these. I mean, come on. Beautiful. These are the beautiful things I'm telling you about that sort of make a house a home. I love those. They make me happy. And little coupes. I mean, champagne coupes. Cute. Don't do that anymore. But yeah, and these dishes I love too. These are some of my favorite everyday dishes. I love them. Just simple. But yeah, this little cabinet helps me out a lot because I sort of put a lot of my things in there. These are vintage cutting boards that I collect. Now, I probably have about 20 of them, but obviously I can't fit 20 here. And I use them a lot, especially when I lay my big table out and we dice up everything and put it on. I use them a lot. And they're great for when you want to cut things when you don't want to cut things on your marble. A lot of people are kind of afraid of marble. But for me, if you go to Italy, people walk on marble. I mean, it's like hundreds and hundreds of years old. So, I mean, I'm not afraid. This here is soapstone. Love it. It's going to age beautifully. It takes on a patina that's bar none. And I didn't want to do the whole kitchen in soapstone, so I sort of added the white Carrara, but love it. This is unlacquered brass set from Duval Kitchens in London. I couldn't have that stove that I wanted, so I just got this. And look at the patina. I mean, it's gonna patina. All of these are unlacquered brass. And a lot of people ask me, where's your refrigerator in this kitchen, Tia? Your refrigerator's not here, Tia. Well, I decided that I'm not a conventional girl. I'm a very unconventional girl. And what I decided was that I love refrigerator drawers. So I have 4 Sub-Zero freezer refrigerator doors, and per cubic feet, we did the math, you get more room in these drawers than you do in an upright refrigerator, or depending on the size, obviously. But I love them. I mean, they're just great. Pull them out, get what I need. And they're actually hidden, so you don't see a refrigerator at all in this kitchen, but they're here. They're just there. These are great cabinets that I had made. What I did with these cabinets, it's kind of a mess in here, but well, also I put wallpaper in here, which is a design thing that I love. But what I did with these cabinets is I put all of these cabinets are all of my things with plugs. So my blender never has to come out, my toaster, my hand mixer, I have an air fryer in here, microwave in here. But what's so great is I took the soapstone all the way back. So when you close the cabinet, you still see the bib of it is soapstone. And I just love it. It makes me happy. And the piece de resistance of my kitchen, besides the skylights, which was a game changer. I mean, I added those probably a year ago, maybe 6 months ago now, and I love them. They're a game changer. This floor, I had to do a lot of sleepless nights on. I just wanted vintage marble. There's a lot of marble out there. There's a lot of people that use like sticky things. There's a lot of people who paint this thing, and all of those are great, and they look great. And I've done some iterations of those over the years, but I really just wanted old vintage marble. So this is what I spend a lot of my money on in my kitchen, because I just feel like the floors are everything. They make me extremely happy when I come in here in the morning. I mean, you can even see the light from the skylight. I get the glow all over the kitchen around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's just crazy. The light just dances around. And there's just something about vintage floors that have been walked on forever that just make a space feel really special. And I love them. They're some of my favorite things in this kitchen. A lot of my vintage art. This is a great vintage art that I got. And I have it next to modern art because I think that's a good pairing. These are from 1920s, and I love them with the crystal glass in here. Love them, love them, love them. These are steel doors that I had made, and it was a cost that I didn't think I needed to incur, but once I did it, I realized, I mean, they're gorgeous. They're heavy. They give prominence to a space and providence to a space, and I just love them, and I wouldn't trade that for the world. And one more thing, I just want to say one more thing about the kitchen. These, a lot of people when they do a kitchen, and they spend a lot of money on, getting your marble just right and cut just right and everything, but then they leave the white plugs in the. I just think that, and they're not that expensive. I think it's a little idea to change those because they really do make a difference. This is the garden, and this is an area that when I bought the house was just nothing. It was concrete, all concrete. I just knew that for me, I wanted to have a little space, a little sacred space that I can sit and have a glass of wine with friends, relax. And so, I actually love gardening. And I've been doing I do a lot of my own gardening. Sometimes if it's, if I have heavy trees or plants, I'll have someone help put it in. But I basically planted a lot of these plants myself, and it means a lot to me. This dining table is an old vintage restoration hardware. You can't really get this anymore, and I got it. And I got it off, wait a minute, Facebook Marketplace, and it's just amazing. I mean, every summer, all you have to do is refinish it and put a seal on it, and it seats everybody. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful garden set. Yeah, it's fantastic. this little area I sort of kind of made into a wonderful little seating area with a fire pit, the fountain, and I sort of just put some fun things up, some little old vintagey things. This here is really special. It's a little swing for my granddaughter that I keep, and you know, she gets to swing on it when she's here, and she absolutely loves it. We sit and have cocktails and she swings, and it's fantastic. This was the garage of this house, and in these old houses they tend to have the garage in the back of the house all the way up a long drive, and you're not going to drive up a long drive to go home anymore because you know you drive in the front. So I sort of made this into a gym, and I love it. It's a great space for me to work out. I like to work out and unwind, and it's a great space. This right here is my granddaughter's playhouse slash my garden shed because she kind of outgrew it a little bit, so I kind of use it for a garden shed here now. This wall is usually around a month ago was filled with roses. It's just a whole wall of roses. Now we're at a time where we got a lot of green garden, which I still think is beautiful. A lot of people think that you need flowers to have a beautiful garden, but a lot of green garden is beautiful. It's just a different time of year. So I planted a lot of this garden just to sort of be able to look at it when I'm working out in the gym, when we're in the garden room. A lot of wildflowers. I have all kinds of fruit trees in this yard. I have an orange tree, which the oranges are amazing. I have a lemon tree. I have a peach tree there. Another place where we just sit and enjoy ourselves. And this little guy, he's usually my Christmas deer. But I just love him so much that I can't ever bring him inside. Christmas happens and he stays out there until next Christmas. My dogs like to bark at him, and you know, it's just sort of fun. So yeah, so this is a really special place. This is a little sacred garden in the middle of Pasadena. So this is the hall. I mean, it's probably the darkest space in the house, and it's a space that I almost didn't buy the house because for me, I'm used to a sight line. I like to walk into my home and I like to be able to see the garden. I like to be able to see my way out the other way. I think that's really important. So this is probably the first house I've ever had that I've had to create sight lines. I created the ones in the kitchen, which enabled me to be okay with this little hall, this little cozy hall. I put some Florence and the Machine prints up, love them. I kept it very simple here. This is a vintage runner that I'm crazy about. Imperfect as it is, it's beautiful and I love it. We put a lot of molding in this hall to give it character. I added a beautiful faceplate for the HVAC. I think that's important. This little lady right here, I had her in another home of mine, and you hardly really noticed her because the ceilings were so high and da-da-da. But here I felt like this hall needed one little special hello. And I feel like she's it. You know, she welcomes you to the hall and it guides you down this little dark path, and I think it's great. Makes me happy. I've always been creative. I've always had some sort of creative outlet, be it, I used to be a jazz singer, and I call it my other life. I have like 4 or 5 different lives that I've lived creatively, but I used to be a jazz singer back in the day, and I loved that. Songwriter, loved that. And I started in interior design, my own little interior design company, and you know, it never got big, and I never did any major things. It was just more small and intimate, and friends and family and clients who were amazing. But yeah, I've always erred on the side of creativity. I just love beauty, and beauty for me comes in a lot of different forms, a lot of different creative outlets. There's, you know, painting and music and dance and all those things, and it's just the world I feel comfortable in. It's my world. For me, a home comes alive when there's intention, when there's purpose, when there's objects in the home that mean something to you, where you can sort of just look across and see, oh, I picked that shell up on the beach when we were in Hawaii, and you know, we had the kids had the flu, and you know, for me, a home is about just a presence to keep a safety net, sort of, where you can come into your home, and it's the one place where you feel safe and you feel protected. And you feel loved, and you know, the world is a little crazy, so to be able to come into your doors and know that this is a place that you feel safe and that all your beautiful things are around you and that your family lives here, and for me, wherever my dogs are, that's where my heart is, because they're my babies. So that's what home means to me. This is just a guest bath, and in a guest bath you can go a little crazy. These are vintage lights that I thought were really stunning. But this wallpaper here is what I want to point out. It's a French brand. The reason why it meant so much to me is because I have a little brown granddaughter now, and I wanted her to be able to see herself in all the times in the country, to be able to see herself. I mean, you know, we have we have the Pam Grier, we have the the Wild Wild West, and I just thought it was a really beautiful wallpaper to be able to show my little brown granddaughter that she is part of the American fabric and the American history. So that wallpaper means a lot to me. It's real special. So this room here is the bedroom. This is a master bedroom. It was very small, and it's on the darker side of the house, so it doesn't get a lot of sunlight. Maybe at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it'll get some, but it doesn't get a lot of sunlight. But for me, having a small little cocoon of a bedroom, I think it's wonderful. The ceilings are low. I love a canopy bed. I didn't care. So I got this canopy bed, and I thought, it makes me happy. I feel kind of like a princess, like a queen in it. This is a vintage light. Love. Crystals galore. Finials on the top. Just beautiful. I mean, you just can't buy those kind of things anymore. So she's beautiful. She's vintage, probably about 60 years old, and I love her. She makes me happy. This fireplace is the fireplace that I told you about in the living room that I had ordered from an antique shop in Paris. It didn't come in time to make it in the living room, but I was going to have it and I was going to look at it. So what I did was I put it in my bedroom, and it's not a real working fireplace. Obviously, it would have been on the real working fireplace. It's just the mantle, but I put a bunch of super beautiful candles in it with a little vintage fire screen. But if you look at the details of this old 200, I think it's 210 years old, to be honest with you, if I can remember from the shipping detail. But I mean, come on, it's beautiful. So I love it, and I get to look at it every night. I put a lot of my beautiful treasures, my grandbabies. I love the vintage art that I find. She just reminds me of a family member, so she made the wall. Another beautiful little vintage painting made the wall. I have books like you wouldn't believe, so they're in every room, everywhere. This is my Josephine Baker. Hello. She was a feather girl, and I just love feathers, and I used to wear a lot of feathers when I sang on stage. So this little moment here with this vintage little light, I mean, look at him. He's gorgeous. It just makes me happy. This vintage mirror I bought at an antique shop in New Jersey, I believe, and it's just gorgeous. I mean, the paintings on top is gorgeous. These chairs here are old vintage chairs with hide on them, and I'm not crazy about the hide because I'm a vegan, but I felt like it was already there, so it's not new hide, and so I sort of kept them. But these chairs are just to die for, the carvings, and this is a vintage chair. This wallpaper. Again, this room was a really small interior room, and I decided that because it didn't get a lot of light, I was going to kind of go with that. It's not a light room, it's a cozy dark room. So I got this wallpaper off Etsy, of all places, and it looks like a painted mural. I mean, just look at it, it's gorgeous. It makes you feel like you're in the middle of a forest. And it's beautiful. I get so many comments on this on my Instagram. Everybody just loves it, and it's beautiful. And this is a frame TV, beautiful old frame. A lot of people like to hide their TV. It's a frame TV. You have art. I like to watch TV. I love to watch design shows, and I don't hide my TV. I just make it beautiful, so you can do it. This right here is my dog bowl. The reason why I'm bringing it up is because it's moving water for the dogs. But besides that, I get a twofer. It's actually, it makes noise like a fountain at night. So I sleep like a baby because it's like I hear a fountain, but it really wasn't meant for that. So That's that's one of my finds that I brag about all the time on Instagram because I love that. It's amazing. I highly recommend it because moving water is good for dogs. This is an old little vanity that I love. All my favorite little things are here. Old vintage, wallets and things like that I love. Old candy boxes. This company, Louis Sherry, it's a candy company. But these boxes that the candy comes in, I mean, for you design aficionados, there's like 20 different boxes like these, and all of the boxes are gorgeous. I mean, I keep lots of little things in there, but just gorgeous. So the candy's amazing, the boxes are good. So that's my vintage. This right here is a Hans Jacobsen Silk Light. I've wanted one forever, and it cost more than it should have. Than I should have spent for it, but I mean, I love it. It's beautiful. It's something that's timeless, and again, it just reminds me of my days as a jazz singer. It gives me that feeling, the silk strings on it. I mean, it's just beautiful. So I absolutely love it. This is my baby's beds, and they fight, but they sleep together. They love each other. So these windows, you'll notice in all the windows in my house, I added gates outside my windows because in Parisian apartments, they sort of have those. And I thought that it would be nice to be able to look at something since we don't really have a view in this room. So I added these little gates to a lot of the bedroom windows. So they're really great. This here is we're going into the master bathroom now. This didn't exist. This was a little tiny hallway that went into, you'll see the family room, which is the sunroom. It was a sunroom and now it's my family room. But this was just a little pass through. And I decided, since I got rid of the old bathroom that was this big in the kitchen, I decided that, we needed another bathroom because you don't ever get rid of a bathroom unless you're going to add a bathroom. So we added this bathroom again, the marble. I decided I wanted to just kind of have a bang in this space. So I chose this marble floor, and I love it. It's great. It sort of, again, in Italy, they walk on marble. I want to walk on marble. This shower is huge. I actually was going to do half of this shower and then do the other half with my sauna. But at the last minute, I was like, you know what? Because if I ever moved, I'm taking my sauna with me. So then I would just have a hole. So I decided, you know what? I'll just do a bench. So you can use the bench for, shaving and that. But I love the shower. It's great. I had this glass door made. The glass maker said that, hey, you sure you want a curve? And I said, yeah, because I felt like to enclose this whole thing in glass would just be too much. So I got a curved glass door. And I don't run into it. People are like, do you run into that? I don't run into it. It's great. Again, you can see the grate on the windows that I chose. Love the bathtub. It's great. It's deep. I love taking baths, and it's a great bathtub. I got all European fixtures. If you notice, all of them are European, and I love them. I think they give an aesthetic to the bathroom that I really wanted. One of the things about a small space and a small home is storage. So every chance I get, I add storage. These, it's a mess in here, but these are all medicine cabinets with tons of storage inside. These are all storage drawers. They actually have built-in plumbing, electricity, so that you can blow dry your hair and do those kind of things. These are Murano sconces, and I love the color of them. Pink is my favorite color. And one more thing, I had this built in, and when you open it, right now I won't open it because it's a mess, but when you open it, it has, I can put all my daily clothes. It can fit a lot of clothes and a lot of drawer space and a lot of top storage, because again, storage for a small space like this is really important. And then I built a huge wardrobe upstairs in my attic. I have like walk-in closet. It's huge. This piece of art right here is called Audrey of Mulberry, and Tristan Eden is the artist, and he actually painted Audrey's portrait on the side of a restaurant in Brooklyn, in New York. I believe it's in Brooklyn, but it's beautiful. And the story goes that this print, which he signed, he had given to someone as a gift, and anybody who knows me knows that I love, love, love Audrey Hepburn. I mean, I think she is just phenomenal. Not just a phenomenal actress, but a phenomenal human being with all her work she did for UNICEF. But I just love her. And I just love this because it's a modern take on Audrey Hepburn. So maybe the new generation can kind of get to know her. But it's one of my favorite pieces in the house. So I love it. So now we're stepping into the attic, and these are the closets that I told you about, and I wanted to show you. I had these closets built in because, as I mentioned before, in a small house you don't get a lot of closet space. So I sort of had these built in, and now I have more space than I can ever want. Plenty of shoe space, plenty of closet space. It's fantastic. So these are shoes that I love in my closet. I wear these often. I think they're just very sexy, and sometimes I just leave one there to look at it because it's like art. Hi, let's go back downstairs and I'll show you a few more spaces in my little cottage. Come on. So this was a sunroom when I purchased the home. It was just a white little sunroom that I didn't put on, the previous owners had it on. And I just loved it. It was always my favorite space because when I moved in here, honestly, the garden was just, it was not a garden. It was just concrete and little pebbles. And I knew that I love gardening, I love flowers. I knew that I could do something with the garden. So that's why I consider this room my garden room. It's where I come, where my granddaughter and I come, we watch TV, we play games. It's a really, really beautiful space. My dogs love it in here. They're super calm in here. They'll lay in here all day long and look at the butterflies outside. It's a very spiritual place for me in my home. And what I did was, when I came in here, it was just wall. Again, behind that is my master bath. And I decided that I needed more storage because, again, you always need storage in a home. So I sort of added storage all throughout here. My dog bed's not usually here, but I have it here now. They have a bed in every room. But this is a washer and dryer. This is full storage. This is another freezer, refrigerator. Great space. I put a mini split in here. It's great in the summer. I do a lot of my correspondence here, write little notes, keep little things in my drawers. I added a mirror here. It's an odd place to add a mirror, but I thought it was great because the more light you can get reflected in this room, honestly, the better. So I love this little mirror here, a little chimoisie mirror, great. I also, over here, I have tons of books again, so I added some book shelving here so I can put some like little special pieces here, pictures and that, and fun things. I thought that was great. These I got off Amazon, the little wicker shades. I made these little tiny little holders. I thought they were super cute. I never put them down, to be honest, because this room is not meant to be a room that's private. It's just meant to be a garden room. So I have that. This is a vintage French leather chair. I love the little nail heads all over the design. I mean, it's just classic, beautiful. This piece here on the floor is a reeded leather and reed mat from the Sahara Desert. I mean, the artisans make these mats, and it's one of my prized possessions that I love so much. They usually don't come this big, so to have one this big is just amazing, and it's just beautiful. It lightens up the space. I sort of made those. They were chandeliers that I had from my other home, and they had a lot of, like diamonds and, not diamonds, crystals hanging from them. And I needed some chandelier, some lighting in here, so I just sort of put some, this is sort of the only fake greenery I have in my house, because obviously you can't put greenery up that high. Who's going to take care of it? But I sort of wrapped those around there, and I ordered some wicker shades, and I put it on there. And I think they're great. They make me happy when I'm in here, and they kind of follow suit. This piece right here, I bought from an antique shop. It's an old mantle, fireplace mantle. And what I was going to do was I was going to literally put a gas fireplace in this room. And after sort of talking to the contractor, and we decided that, you know what, it's probably not really worth it. They have inserts now that give you just as much heat and everything. It's great. So what I did was I just sort of put one of those inserts in there. And what's great about it is that it gets really hot in here in the winter if you want. I have it turned off now for my granddaughter, and also it's summer. But it gets very hot in here, and it just gives the aesthetic. It's really, this is where my Christmas tree goes in the thing, and I drape this with the Christmas decorations, and it's a beautiful, beautiful scene. Again, frame TV, and keep your art on it. Makes me happy. These little leather chairs are things I've had for years. I have a couple of them, and they just make me happy. The ceiling is really special because it was just a white ceiling. The whole room was white, and what I decided was that I kind of wanted to envelop the whole room because I had all these plantings planted. And I felt like the whole room needed to give you a hug and made you feel like you were in the garden as a true garden room. So I had wallpaper. This is one of my favorite patterns. It comes in a lot of different, I believe it's Scalamandre, I'm not sure. I'll link it if you guys want, but it's a beautiful pattern and it makes me feel like I'm in the trees. I mean, when you sit down and you're looking up, it's between the color on the walls, and which is a beautiful Farrow and Ball color, and the wallpaper, it's just stunning. So yeah, and I tell people all the time, don't sleep on wallpaper in your ceiling. It really is another space in your home that you can actually wallpaper, paint. I mean, you don't have to have a white ceiling. Sometimes a white ceiling is what's called for, but more times than not, don't sleep on the ceiling because that's like your fifth wall, and it's a great space to make things happen on. So, home means to me safety, a place where I can come in and I can feel safe. It's my safe haven. I can be myself. I can enjoy my cherished memories with my loved ones. I can play my music really loud. I can dance in my bathrobe. It's just a place where my comfort, where comfort for me lives. It's also a place where my dogs are. And I'm a huge dog lover, and wherever my dogs are, that's home to me. So that's what home means to me.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more. Today we're visiting legendary television producer Wendy Walker at her home in Southern California. Wendy was an original producer at CNN, where she covered the Reagan, Bush, and Clinton administrations during pivotal moments in American history. She later spent more than 3 decades producing Larry King Live, helping shape one of television's most recognizable platforms for conversation. Wendy's passion for antiquing grew during her years traveling with the press corps, often returning home with unexpected treasures.
I was always known for taking some crazy thing on the press plane, chairs, pots, but this is one of my favorite pieces that I got as a souvenir.
Her design philosophy blends elegance with comfort. The rooms feel curated but never precious, inviting guests to relax and stay a while.
Anytime I have a girls' night, we start in the bathroom. We have drinks and hors d'oeuvres here, and then we go to dinner.
Personal history is woven into every room of this home. Correspondence with world leaders, a collage of press passes that trace the arc of her extraordinary career, and photographs from history-defining moments.
Unfortunately, my 50th birthday made international news, so I can never lie about my age, because Paul McCartney played at my 50th birthday. Hello, Homeworthy. I'm Wendy. Welcome to Southern California. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Wendy Walker, and I was a CNN original, which means I helped start CNN and was there for 32 years. And welcome to my home in Southern California. How I ended up at CNN was really kind of interesting. I was working at an art gallery in Georgetown in Washington, D.C., and got a call from Ethel Kennedy to see if I could become her social secretary. So I became Ethel's secretary, and I started working with ABC because she was doing a pro celebrity tennis tournament for her fundraiser for the Robert F. Kennedy Memorial. And I was the liaison between her and ABC, and I thought, you know, this is really cool. It's organization, it's creativity, it's fun, it's exciting. I think I want to be a producer. So I went to ABC News and walked in and said I wanted to be a producer, and they asked if I had any experience, and I said no. And somebody felt sorry for me and asked if I could type, and I said yes, I can type. And they said, well, you can start as a secretary. So I started as a secretary at ABC News in 1979, and I was filling out my application on the first day, and I was sitting next to this young girl, and I said, hi, I'm Wendy Walker, and I want to be a producer. And she said, hi, I'm Katie Couric, and I want to be a writer. So we started on the same day at ABC in 1979, and then our boss ended up bringing me into his office about a year later, and he said, I'm going to leave ABC and I'm going to start this new company called Cable News Network with this crazy sailor in Atlanta, and I'd like you to come with me, and I'd like you to tell me some of the younger people. I need some younger people, so I'd like you to tell me who else I should bring. And I said, well, my roommate Katie wants to be a writer, so we'll go together. So we ended up leaving ABC and starting CNN in 1980, and then Katie went off to become Katie Couric, and I stayed at CNN for 32 years. I produced the White House for 10 years, George Bush, Ronald Reagan, and 6 months of Clinton, and then after that I spent 18 years producing Larry King Live. So altogether I was there for 32 years and absolutely loved it. Had the two best jobs at CNN.
This is the living room, and even though it's pretty, it's still functional and livable, and you can come in here and put your feet up, and it's not off limits at all. I have an Afghan. I have this thing about making Afghans when I'm watching TV. I can't just sit there, so I have to do something. And I usually do it when I'm watching something scary. I think I did this one when I was watching Blacklist, which is a very long series, or it could have been 24. I don't know, but that I do a lot of Afghans. This is very funny. Terry Brown, who's my sister and decorator, she ordered this for me for this spot. And we decided to call the house Chateau to Wendy. And when we got it, it came and it said Chateau to Wendy Bottom. And I said, why does it say Wendy Bottom? So she called the people who made it. And she said, why did you put Chateau to Wendy Bottom on this? And they said, well, you said you wanted to put Chateau to Wendy on the bottom. So they messed up and put bottom instead. And then they made me a new one. And I thought, no, I want to keep the one that says Chateau to Wendy Bottom. So that's why that's there. Besides being a bookaholic, I am a potholic. These are from the Paris flea market. I actually just had them, we shipped them over in a big crate. But these are particularly beautiful ones. I absolutely love those. The painting is super, super special. It was done by an artist called Todd Murphy, who unfortunately passed away in his prime when he was just becoming big, and I think he was in his 40s. And I commissioned this piece, which really reminds me of, I think Alexander McQueen would have really loved this painting because it's all twigs, and we have a lot of hummingbirds here, so there are hummingbirds all through the twigs, and at night when there's just a spotlight on it, it is so eerie and beautiful. But I'm so honored to have it because he did a lot of dresses like this, but he also did amazing animals, and he was an incredible artist, and he just was snuffed out way too early. But Todd Murphy, look him up. His pieces are just absolutely beautiful. Another flea market piece. This is a sculpture. It's a Kelly bag, but it's really heavy. I got that in Paris. It's interesting because we've got a new piece and this old piece, which I absolutely love. And my dear friend Nathan Turner, he found this piece, and it landed in LA on a truck, and he saw it coming off the truck into an antique shop, and he said, I want it. So he grabbed it off the truck for me, and we think it's Swedish. I love it because it's in 3 pieces. The canvas is kind of sewn together, and it has a scaffolding on it. And when I got it, my children were younger, so I just thought it just reminded me of something that I had to have. So I love that piece. It has a lot of meaning. Once again, my absolute love for hand-painted furniture. This one is really special because it's kind of got a faux marble top. I love this piece. This is an amazing feat that I did. What I decided to do is to chronicle my career for my kids. And so it took me 2 years to do it. And it's over 1,000 pages. And it starts with Ethel Kennedy, when I worked for her. It's all there from the very beginning of CNN. This picture was when we first started just making a newsroom. We're getting, these chairs were sent up from Ted Turner's office, and we were putting it together. And Bernie Shaw, I'm sure you remember him, but this was all very early. And there I was with Sam Donaldson. When I was very young, I dated Sam Donaldson, my parents were very upset because he was a lot older than me. But now Sam's 90. But it just chronicles my whole career. This is something I made for both of my kids, and I encourage anybody to put your things together in one book. And so it's just nice to have.
This house to me looks like a little villa. It's really very European looking, and I love it. It's kind of, I would consider it maybe casual elegance. I like cozy, I like pretty, so it's kind of a combination of the two. And what drew me to the house was the light. There's hardscape outside on either side of the house, so it's a great entertainment house, and it's good for where I am in my life right now. My children are grown, they're out, so when they come over as adults, and we have a lot of dogs, so that we have really a fun time with all the dogs that come and hang out here. They all love it. And it's also really good for casual get-togethers. I love to have small dinner parties at my house, and so it's just a really casual, lovely house. And my daughter calls it the pretty house because it's actually pretty.
One of my favorite rooms is a room that I created. It wasn't here when I bought the house. This is all new, is my dining room. And I fell in love with it because we can open all these windows open. So in the summertime, and actually most year around, it's almost like it's outside. So you can open it up or close it up. Beautiful ceiling that were all old French bricks that we did that was so beautiful. And I really wanted a place to put my glasses, because lots of times when you don't use them, if you don't see them. So I love having all my glasses here. And I also decided that I wanted to make sure that I had room to organize my napkins, because I'm anally organized. And I think I had this theory is if your mother wasn't organized, you're organized. And my mother was not organized. But every time she did something, it was beautiful, but I don't know how it ever got made. But anyway, I am very organized. So I have all my napkins in here. What I think about a dining room is that usually it's kind of a wasted room. And you don't really use it unless you have people over. So what I wanted to do is make this more like a reading room so that you could come in, and I have even put a little bar there so you could come in and have a glass of wine and sit, read some books. So this is my kind of library book room. And also I have a confession, which is I'm kind of a bookaholic. I have a problem, and the problem is I can't get enough of coffee table books. I do have a serious problem. I can't not get books. And I went crazy this year at Home Goods, because at Home Goods, little secret, around Christmas time, I don't know where they get them, but they get a stash of great books. So I got this amazing, wonderful books at Home Goods. So go Home Goods. They know me there. I might apply for a job. This is Italian. It's an Italian piece. When I saw it, and I knew what we were doing on the roof and the ceiling, it was just, oh my God, it's perfect. And at night, it's beautiful. And I hope you can see the patina inside. It's pale blue, and it's just gorgeous at night when you've got candles on the table, and you can look up and see the blue in the chandelier. This is my den, my family room. I spend a lot of time here with my family. It's the cozy room. The fireplace is always on. And some of the interesting pieces are, these are old Italian play screens, the theater backdrops that I just fell in love with when I found them. The ceiling was here when I got the house. It was one of the vibes that I actually liked, because it kind of reminded me of a French cafe. The other thing that I love about this room is the bookshelf. I kind of think of this as an installation. I went shopping in my house and found to just put the blue pieces in, and then picked out the books that I thought would be pretty together, and then just found some beautiful frame pieces that with the gold. So I put it all together, and lots of times I'm constantly moving something around, but I really enjoy putting this together. I always thought it would make a good cover of a magazine, in case anybody's interested. I started collecting the Chinese pottery probably about 10 years ago, and I have more in the kitchen, and I just love it. And lots of times, if I'm doing once in a while, when I'm doing a beautiful luncheon, I will take all the pieces and put them all the way down a dining room table and put flowers in them, because I think they're so pretty. And then I'll bring the picture out. So I actually use the pieces for flowers and for plates and when I'm entertaining. So this is really kind of one big room, and goes into the kitchen, and still you can see all the my collection of this beautiful Chinese pieces that I just love. And again, I'll still pull that out if I'm having a big party with the rest of the china, because it's so beautiful. One of my favorite things are these sconces. They're old, but I actually think they make this room. I just love them. And I have a big shout out to Ruggables. I love Ruggables in the kitchen. What a great invention. It's like inventing Spanx. Whoever invented Ruggables it's so great to have pretty rugs that you can throw in the washing machine. So yay, Ruggables. This is one of the reasons that I kind of thought this would be my next home, because I loved the tin ceilings, and I loved the coziness of this whole area. The first painting I ever bought is right here. And I got it in Sun Valley, Idaho, for some reason at an antique shop. And I had to put it on my credit card and pay every month for it until I bought it. But I fell in love with it. And it's just this painting of these acrobats in Paris. And I absolutely love this. And it's kind of meaningful to me right now because when I was in Paris covering the White House, I used to have to scout out where we were going to do, stand-ups and shoot everything. And I used to have to climb. I remember climbing on a roof like this to get a good shot of the Eiffel Tower. And I thought, oh my God, I've already done this in my painting. I have a painting that has that. So that's kind of special to me. I love that painting. I don't know where my love of antiquing comes from, but I've always had it. And when I did cover all those 50 countries, every time I would go there, I would get a cab and run and find an antique shop and buy something that was an antique that I would bring home. And so I have a lot of pots. I have a lot of things that I bought all over the world just for my souvenir. There was something in an antique shop. But I love, that's why my favorite place in the world is the Paris flea market. I mean, that is just the best. Whoever hasn't gone, you have to go. It's the best.
Probably the most profound memory I have is I was in Berlin with Ronald Reagan when he told Gorbachev to tear down the wall. And I still have the copy of the text in my office. That was when he said it, we all got chills and knew that we were really experiencing history. It was pretty amazing. Another fun thought was that I got in trouble one time from my boss because we were interviewing Marlon Brando at his house. And Marlon Brando was a recluse, and he sat down with Larry because he had to do one interview because there was a book coming out about him that he did not approve of, so he wrote his own book. And his publicist said, well, you have to do one interview. So he said he would do Larry King. And LA had never seen him. He never went out of his house. He was a recluse. So we went to the house, and he came out and sat down with a coffee cup full of something that was not coffee. And we did this amazing interview. And at the end of the interview, he and Larry started singing, and they kissed each other on the lips. And I got a call. I thought it was great. I thought, oh my gosh, here's a TV moment. I got a call from my boss, and he said, why did you let them do that? And I said, what? And he said, well, why did you let them kiss on the lips? And I said, well, I guess when I was telling Larry that he had to, to do a good job, I forgot to tell him, and by the way, if you get into this guy, don't kiss him on the lips. I don't know. But anyway, after the interview was over, Larry looked at Marlon Brando and he said, kiss my producer like you kissed me. So Marlon Brando kissed me on the lips. So those are kind of the two sides of, I had a lot of historical moments, and then I had a lot of moments like that as well. So it was a pretty interesting time.
Well, we're on our way to my office, and it's fun just to show you that I have these two little niches which actually are perfect for an Emmy. And this is from Ethel Kennedy, which is something I really treasure. So those are kind of fun. Anyway, it's on my way to the office. So here's my office. This is one of my favorite paintings. Again, I got it at the flea market in Paris. And then I picked, I have the big book that I did in the living room of my whole career. But what I did here is pick out just special photographs that are special to me. It's kind of ironic that I covered 3 presidents, because when I was 3 years old in 1956, Richard Nixon was running for vice president for his second term, and he did a whistle-stop tour in Pennsylvania where I lived. and he picked me up. And then the other thing that's so weird is that before that, I lived in New York, and I lived in the house that that President and Mrs. Clinton live in now. So even as a child, somehow I was destined to cover presidents. This is a really interesting, special thing for me. When I introduced President Reagan to my daughter when she was a baby, and I had on this pink suit. And when later on, years later, I was interviewing Mrs. Reagan, and my daughter asked me if she could take the day off to go with me to interview her. And I said, sure. And so she said, well, can I borrow something to wear? So she went in and she put on this pink suit. And I said, how did you know to wear that suit? And she said, I don't know what you're talking about. And I said, that is the suit that I had on when I introduced President Reagan to you. And so I said, I have to show this to Mrs. Reagan. So I brought the picture with me and showed Mrs. Reagan. And she wrote me a darling note about how special it was. But it was uncanny because my daughter is not a pink girl. This is not the kind of thing she would have picked out, but she picked out that suit. Anyway, I've always loved that picture. So anyway, this is just some of the highlight pictures of that were special to me. Like, it was very hard to get an interview with Mick Jagger. We did. Nelson Mandela, Marlon Brando kissing me on the lips. This was a really interesting picture of Ronald Reagan and me. I was allowed to ask him a few questions by myself. That was a huge deal to me. And then this is a picture of an interview with Yasser Arafat, which was a big deal because back then he did not do interviews. But I happened to have two really close friends who are Palestinian, and they arranged it. So we had this interview with Yasser Arafat. That was something. So I had to keep that one out. This is an interesting. This was a thank you note from President Reagan because we did something for his 85th birthday on Larry King. So he wrote me a note thanking me, which was so sweet. This was really special for me because since I produced all the U.S. Soviet summits, I never, ever got to meet Gorbachev. And so he was one of the first guests when I got the job of Larry King that I wanted. And so that was a really special thing for me to have. And then this is, of course, when Paul McCartney surprised me for my 50th birthday, and I can't lie about my age picture. And these are the songs that he sang. He sang for almost 2 hours, and he sang 22 songs. And I got up with him because when he sang I Hear It's Your Birthday, I had to get up and dance with him. It's an unspeakable thought. I mean, I can't even really believe it actually happened. Talking about the hand-painted furniture love that I have, this is one of my favorites. It's Italian. It's absolutely just the most beautiful piece. And the color is just amazing, and I just love it. And this is another thing when we were talking about getting souvenirs from my travels. This was from Italy. I found an old store that had remnants because, of course, in the museums their basements are filled with things like this. But I actually picked this up and took it on the press plane. I was always known for taking some crazy thing on the press plane, chairs, pots. But this is one of my favorite pieces that I got as a souvenir. So we're going on my way to my bedroom. I kept my wedding picture because it was done by Joyce Tennyson, who is a really well-known, beautiful photographer. And it was only one copy because it's a Polaroid. And then after she took my picture, she had me put a piece of cloth on and did these other two pieces. But this is Joyce, and she does this with she does a lot of pieces like this. She's a fun person to look up. She's a beautiful photographer. So again, it's just a piece of art, and I'm really lucky to have it. This is my bedroom, and what I love about this bedroom is the light, and the light is good in the morning, in the afternoon, and in the evening. And this is Blue. Blue is my sweetheart, and he is here to show you his painting. This is a painting that I had commissioned by a woman by the name of Alice Ford. She is a great artist, and I fell in love with her work when I saw it. So I called her and commissioned this painting, and I wanted something frivolous and light and fun. And so I wanted a runway with the blonde and blue. 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 Come here. So this is Blue's first painting. And that's really blue, isn't it? Huh? So I love that painting. The walls are Venetian plaster. So it's a really difficult, tedious process to make the walls look like a sky. And for a long time, I didn't have anything up there because I just liked the sky. But then I found that and decided to do that. But the walls are just absolutely beautiful. Again, that's another little flea market piece. It's just an old palette, which I love. And I have these old carriages that I've had since I was little. Those I love. It's cozy and warm, and I have the fireplace on all the time. And I love this room. Makes me happy. It's a happy room. So this is kind of an interesting story, but when I got this house, I decided to make the dining room, and I also wanted to extend the bathroom. What I didn't really realize was how extensive the bathroom was going to be. So it's quite special, and it's so special that anytime I have a girls' night, we start in the bathroom. We have drinks and hors d'oeuvres here, and then we go to dinner. So let me show you why. I live in the bathtub. People ask me if I take jacuzzis outside. I say, no, I just take baths all the time. It's really very comfortable. And then the shower is amazing. We picked out the stone, and it almost looks like there's a figure in it, like a Christ figure, like standing up like this. But the color is absolutely beautiful. So, and then it has 2 water closets. So privacy for people. I have this thing about purses. I clean out my purse every night. So what I do is I take take everything out of my purse, and I put it in. This is my bowl for my purse, and then I pick out a bag in the morning, and then I decide what needs to go in the purse. Is it my wallet? Is it makeup? Is it sunglasses? Do I need a notebook? This is where my producer head goes in. And do I need regular glasses? So this is my grab bag. If I'm having a smaller purse, I'll take just my license and put it in there. So then I fill up my purse and I use it all day, and then I come back and I put everything away. That way I clean out my purse if there's a receipt that needs to be thrown away or filed or anything. It's all organized. And when I wrote my book about my career, nobody cared about the summits. Nobody cared about Marlon Brando. All they wanted to know is, do you really clean your purse out every night? And I really do. And I don't know. I've never gone to bed with a full purse. It's always put away. This was in a magazine, and it's actually kind of funny because it was in a local magazine, and they did like 3 women, and they wanted us to pick out wear our own clothes. So I had on a Chanel shirt, Valentino skirt and sash, and Chanel tennis shoes. And the woman started taking the picture, and she said, do you have anything other than those tennis shoes? Do you have some boots or something, or heels? And I said, no, this was the look. I wanted this look. And she didn't like it. She thought it looked funny. And I said, well, that you asked me to wear what I wanted, what I would like to wear. And with this outfit, I would wear these black tennis shoes. So she let me do it, and I love it. But it's done in a bar in an old hotel. Okay, so this is my library, and I did something else for my children that I'm hoping doesn't end up in their attic someday. But I saved all my press passes for the 10 years I was at the White House. I would come home every night and take my pass off and put it in a box. And I don't know why, but I did. So I decided at one point to frame them. So here they are. And I have a few just to show you what they look like. You'd wear them around your neck. And this one's the trip of President Bush to Poland, Hungary, the Paris Economic Summit, and French Bicentennial, and the Netherlands, 1989. So, I mean, they're just crazy. You know, this is Brussels and NATO, and the president's trip to Europe, Republican National Convention in New Orleans. I remember that because the food was so good. But just, you know, all these crazy press passes that I made so each child will get one whether they want it or not. I love Bob Woodward. I actually knew I had actually made it in Washington when I was seated next to Bob Woodward. I thought I'd died and gone to heaven. Anyway, here's a picture of Bob and Larry and his books. So that's kind of fun. These are all first editions that I have been collecting through the years for my son. So I'm keeping them safe for him. This is a book that I did of letters that I've gathered throughout my career. That back then we actually wrote notes to each other, and I have notes from George Bush, Reagan, Mrs. Reagan, Mrs. Bush, Hillary Clinton, President Clinton, Al Gore, Ross Perot. And I decided to put them all in a book because people actually love reading them. So I will read one from George Bush that is actually handwritten. Handwritten. Who does that? Dear Wendy, just back from Asia. I want to thank you for the heads up on Barbara's rerun. We saw it in Indonesia. Marlon is here today. That was his press secretary. Singing your praises. He always does. He should, though, too. Best wishes, George Bush, 11/29/94. I mean, I'm so glad I kept these. Sometimes when my press friends come, they'll say, "Oh my gosh, I didn't keep anything," and I really tried to chronicle everything that we did. This is funny. This is from Hillary Clinton. It says, "Thank you for," I don't know what I was writing her about, but I said, "Thank you for your concern and for sharing your woes of sleep deprivation. I'm glad the nutritionist is helping you. Are you using carrots to hold up your eyelids? With warm regards, I remain sincerely yours, Hillary Clinton." I mean, it's who takes their time to write a press person. I mean, it's so funny. This is a sweet one from John Kennedy when he had just started his book, his magazine, George, and I was trying to get his first interview, and I knew him because since I worked for the Kennedys, and so it was a very sweet letter from him, and there's one, as I said, I don't know why. But I have a letter in here from Manuel Noriega, and it says, it says my name, and I don't know what it says. We should get it transcribed. And this is one from Ross Perot, who I actually adored, and he would call me all the time. Wendy, this is Ross. And he'd always wanted something. But what he always wanted was me to do something kind for somebody, somebody that needed, that loved Larry, and they were 90 years old. Could Larry call her? Or this person is having trouble as a veteran. Couldn't you do something? I mean, he was always thinking about other people. And then I love this. I came across this when I was looking at this the other day. This is from Donald Trump. And it was done in 1992, and it was from a rag of some sort, and it's ratings Trump for Donald, and it actually talks about ratings, and that Donald Trump rated the highest of the month for Larry King, and so even back then he was consumed with ratings. So anyway. This is King Hussein inviting me to Amman for a visit. I mean, it's just a treasure trove, and I love sharing it with people. So I majored in art, in studio art, which didn't make my dad that happy. So what are you going to do with that? But I can draw, so I still like to dabble in it. It's something, I think that's why I like decorating so much, because it's artistic and creative. But what I've been doing is just painting note cards. So here are just a few that I've done that, these are from old plates. So I took old plates, and painted each one of them. So they're just little note cards. And that's just something I do as a hobby. But I also I went to school in Paris for a year studying art, and my main thing was etching. So these cards are etchings that I did in Paris. So this is one of them when I was a kid. I was about 20. And these are, again, note cards that I've done. This is Les Invalides. That's Napoleon's church that's there. But and then I just signed them. It's just kind of a fun little thing that I do that I give away for presents. I don't know why. But since I was in Paris, one of the things that I had to do was to go to the Louvre and sit on the floor. And one of the classes was about French furniture. So I had to sit and paint them all. So I did that, a chair, and then I'd have to write about it. And so these still have like très bien. I got an A on that because and this is a very intricate chair, but I was trying to come up with something to frame for my bathroom, and I thought, I'm going to get my old notebook out, because it even has just the holes from the notebook. But I remember my teacher saying to me, you go way out of your way. Nobody paints these things. They just draw it, draw it in black and white. But of course I had to go in and paint, the fabric and everything. But it turned out to be kind of a fun wall. That's my favorite, because it's a hand-painted one, so that's why I like.
I think what I like about this house was that it is an expression of me, because my background is art. I was, that's why I was at an art gallery when I actually met Ethel. So each room to me is an installation, and I put a lot of time into each room as far as what's in it, and the art, and the colors, and the textures, and I really enjoy it a lot. My sister in Atlanta, her name is Terry Brown, and she's actually a decorator. And I think if I had not gone the path that I went on with television news, I would have loved to have been a decorator, and I learned so much from her, and we collaborated on this house, and so that was fun because she's crazy and we have a good time. I like the house for where I am in my life right now. People love coming to this particular home because they feel warm, they feel happy. It's a happy home, but it's comfort and love, I think, and happiness.
Today, we're in California's idyllic wine country, visiting antique dealer and Chateau Sonoma founder Sarah Anderson at her breathtaking 19th century home and farm. One of the first 5 homes built in Sonoma, this Gothic Victorian masterpiece with French-inspired interiors is both a cherished residence for Sarah and her son, as well as a gathering place where she hosts local artisans and makers to celebrate French living with a California twist. Designed for seamless indoor-outdoor living, the bright, inviting first-floor rooms open onto a wraparound porch, an outdoor dining space, and a cinematic pool. The grounds feature romantic French-style gardens, a 2-story barn, an olive grove and vineyard, and some friendly 4-legged residents. Grand yet intimate, this charming home stands as a testament to Sarah's thoughtful stewardship of this historic estate, ensuring it will thrive and flourish for generations to come. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, Homeworthy. Welcome. My name is Sarah, and I would love for you to come in and welcome you to my home. My name is Sarah Anderson, and I am the owner of Chateau Sonoma. It's a French antique and lifestyle business, and I would just like to welcome you to my home here in Sonoma. So this home is one that I've been coming to for many years, even before I owned the home, because my friend Annalise McDonald lived here. She would have these beautiful dinner parties, and I remember she'd have all the neighbors over and this big long table with candles burning, and it was just this very inviting place to be. I also really enjoyed the barn because they would have these art shows and things, and Jock McDonald kept all of his photography. That's where he did most of his photography. His darkroom was up there, and it was just a very cool artsy space, and so he would invite people from the community to come from time to time, and that was always so much fun to kind of meet new artists and to really have this fun kind of experience in somebody's home. And they were very generous and very, they liked to share their home, and they had parties all the time. So I knew about this house before, and one evening I was over at DeRosa Preserve. They were having a big party, and they said, oh, we sold our house, and we're moving to Brooklyn. And I thought, no way, like how sad, I'll never be able to go to this house again. So after a while, they called me and said, you know, the deal fell through and that the house was still available for sale. And I was pregnant at the time, and I came here with my former husband. We wandered around and we're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So we ended up making an offer, knowing that there was going to be a tremendous amount of work to do. So that's when the whole process started with restoring this house, because it was built in 1875 and it hadn't had a major remodel since then. So it was time to kind of give it a facelift. So that's when we embarked on this. How do we get it to stand for another 100 years? This is the living room, and people walk in and they love these watercolors. They were in a book actually that we took apart and we framed each one, and this was at our culinary school. And when we closed the culinary school, I was very happy to be able to bring these back home, because I feel like this really softens the room a lot. And there was just a lot of blank wall here. We had one piece over the sofa, but then this whole collection came here. So there's pieces all throughout the living room in here. And I think it's a really lovely, softens everything just a little bit. And then this is our main seating area. This is where we do sit by the fire in the winter time. We have the chess game here, and this sofa is from Varela. I love it. We carry it in the shop as well. And this is an old chicken coop, so that's back to my chicken days, chicken roots. And we just turned it into a coffee table and put a piece of glass over the top of it. So we try to use like vintage pieces and figure out how to repurpose them so people can use them in a very functional way in their home. And so I think this works out really, really well for us. And then, as you can tell, I love the taxidermy. We have the deer above the fireplace that stays all year round, even though I was thinking it would be a seasonal thing for the winter, but it's just such a fun showstopper. And the doe eyes, it's such a pretty piece just to be around, and it's got a very gentle spirit, and a little owl and some birds around. And I just like cabinet de curiosité, and you'll see them in other rooms in the house as well. But it's just kind of a collection of your favorite things that I've collected over the years, little paintings, little plein air paintings, and then the collection of mushrooms that came from a school. So it's really fun to kind of collect different things from the flea markets in France, and this is basically one of my absolute favorite collections, and there's all different styles. It was from a school when they're studying different types of mushrooms, and they're made of plaster, so I bought the whole collection, and it's just really fun for shelf displays. And this fireplace is pretty much the central part of the whole house, and we were very fortunate that we could still build fires in this fireplace because it was grandfathered in because it's been around for so long. But when the house was originally built, it had a coal burning stove here, so we had to pull that out, and then this is what Pascal did and made it look really beautiful inside with the brick, the way he laid the brick and these old French tiles. And this I found at a salvage yard in France along with the fountain that's in front of the house, and so we imported these, and then Pascal was able to put it into he did all of the work, so it looks like it's been here for about 100 years or longer. These are directoires, and these shelves came from my favorite dealer in France named Laurence Langlard, who actually built the nooks around the pieces. So this was a whole wall here before, and we just created that when we did the remodel in the house, and they just fit absolutely perfectly. And I just think these ladders are so fun. It's a folding ladder. You can find them in France all the time. Sometimes they're picking ladders. Sometimes they're ladders that they use to get to the libraries up above and to get to books. But I think it's fun just to put them around because you can use them as like a little shelf to put your glass of wine if you're sitting by the fire. And they're very functional to hold like the taxidermy, and also you can stack books on them as well. So it's just a very useful piece, and it doesn't take up much room, and you can move it around very easily. So I highly recommend them in houses. I always, whenever I can find like little 3-step stools, I always buy them because they're nice between chairs as well. So these mirrors I had in the shop, there's a pair of them, and they're my absolute favorite. I brought them into the store. They were available for sale for about a year. They didn't sell, so I just brought them home because I just thought I can't take this anymore, and they were hard to move around in the shop. And I am so happy that I did because I think they go beautifully with this whole, but things kind of rotate in and out of the shop. I think it's fun that I have this sort of tableau here where we can place the pieces, show people how to live with the pieces and use the pieces, and then sometimes they pop into Chateau Sonoma if I get tired of them, or I find another piece that I want to put in its place. Instead of putting it in storage, I get to bring it to the shop and let other people enjoy it, and it gets a whole new life. And I am obsessed with bars. I have no idea why, but this is a zinc top bar. Again, I love the patina. It's not like too painted, and it took it down to the oak. It had more paint on it before, and we'd kind of sanded it down. And I just think a bar in every home is really fun because when people come over, I can shake them a martini or just make a nice little, I bring the wine or the champagne out here, and it's just very fun to let people kind of feel like they're in a bar in your home. And it's the central part of the whole house. And I do my cocktail hours every Friday night for Chateau Sonoma. I interview different people in the wine country or that are doing things that are related to the store, and so I always set up my little stand here, and we have a little toast on Fridays at 5:30. Always a sucker for botanicals. I like that we have the watercolors over here, and then these botanicals sort of speak to them, but these are actually real botanicals that have been preserved over the years. And I love this dealer in Avignon who always has them. So whenever I do get to Avignon Flea Market, I always buy them and bring them into the shop. Some of them they sell just individually, but I think it's just a really beautiful piece. And always have to have some greenery in the house. And the fiddle leaf fig is something that just keeps growing. I've cut it back like multiple times. It grows all the way to the ceiling sometimes. And I finally found, these are the old Anduze pots, and oftentimes they have paint on them, but I love this one because the paint has all come off. It's a really old one, probably from the early, around the time of the house, 1875. So I absolutely love it. It's a perfect home for my fiddle leaf fig. And here is the sister to the other mirror. And then we have all of my guitars. I decided to take up guitar and singing like in my 50s. I don't know why, I just felt like I needed to have again, get back to my roots, because my mom had all of us children play different instruments. So had this opportunity to bring this piano in, and this is from the Jack London period, so early 1900s, and I think it fits very well into the house. It flips up, and so when people come to play, it's very center stage. And we also do events here. We do music events. We're going to have Festival Napa Valley come and do a private dinner, and have some pianists come and play. So it's just a really lovely space and the acoustics in here are very, very nice. So. And then we have more of the watercolors here. The sun sets right over here. So if it's coming in and hits the wood, it's not so good. So I have to close these blinds in the afternoon. And from the outside, we'll show you that the windows are curved at the top. And I just think that they're just such nice little details that add so much character to a room. And I also love the chandeliers in this space as well. I found these in Avignon. They don't exactly match, but I don't need everything to match. I kind of think it's nice when you don't have everything perfectly symmetrical and perfectly matchy-matchy. So it's nice that one's a little bit more ornate than the other. So my design style kind of morphed into French because, like I said, I lived in Spain, I've lived in Mexico. I thought I had a more Latin vibe, but then when I went to France, and it's like, you know how they just wrap a piece of chocolate like in this perfect wrapping, they put it in the perfect little box, and everything feels very special. And I kind of really bought into that hook, line, and sinker, like all the details with even their, dish drying, towels with the little detail with the stripes. And if you look at some of these paintings too, like everything has like a very interesting detail. I love taxidermy. That's another thing that I would say is very incorporated into this design. Every time I go back to Paris, I go to Design and Nature, one of my favorite taxidermy places in France, and buy like a little finch. They're animals that have already passed, so she takes them and then gives them a new life for your home. And I love like the deer that I have in the background, and I also the little birds, and I have a fox upstairs. And it's just like they are spirit animals to me. Like it's like having an animal without actually having to take care of it. Although we have a lot of animals that we have to take care of as well. Little miniature horse out in the front with a couple of goats. But with regard to French design, like I love the Anduze pots, the bar. It's always like a central, bars are my obsession. I love the zinc tops, and they have this nice wavy finish, and I like patina. I love anything with a little bit of patina, and you can kind of see there's it's not serious French antiques that are very heavy with the lacquered wood. I don't really like that. I like the more oak, more raw wood. I like just a little bit of paint where the wood is shining through. And you can see on all the pieces that I have in my house, including these mirrors right here on the wall, they all have like just a lovely, lovely patina. I think that's the most important for me. I buy what I love. I'm not like a very serious antique dealer where I'm looking at the exact period and who was the artist who created it, and I just buy what I love and what I think would be affordable for people in the store, and kind of has to have that chateau-y vibe, which I always feel like is that painterly kind of washed out look. Okay, so this is the dining room. This is where we do all of our entertaining. It's a very nice long table and I love it. It's one of my favorites. I'm trying to have it reproduced for the shop because it has these different pieces that come apart. You can fold it up, you can store it very easily. So I love that. This is a line that we created with a local artist from Sonoma. Her name is Kayla Stein. And it was like all the pieces over the last 24 years that we've been in business that I've collected, and so shared them with her, and we came up with this really fun concept of at the farm. She comes here seasonally and collects things in the garden, and she rolls the botanicals into the pottery. She fires them twice so they're dishwasher safe. They stack beautifully, and I have to say we finally found the perfect tabletop collection because it can be elevated, it can be very just everyday use, and it's, like I said, dishwasher safe, so it's very fun. It's fig season on the farm. We like to use everything that we grow here on the property, so figs are online right now, so we bring them into the shop, but there's too many for just even our customers, so we're going to be working with different restaurants in town and sharing the bounty of the farm. And I also love, as I said, like collections. Here's another shelf with all kinds of things that I absolutely love. I used to have a line of pottery here that moved to Chateau Sonoma. And then I started adding little plein air paintings that I collect when I'm in France. And we also have a gentleman who's a local artist, Dave Woodside, who always brings in these little plein air paintings with scenes of Sonoma. So I always think the little paintings on the shelf always add so much life. And the wicker, these are all vintage wicker for water and wine. That's how they would store them in France. And so I always collect those as well. And like I said, things kind of come and go. If like, oh, the Eiffel Tower heads to Chateau Sonoma, and I'll find something else to kind of take its place. And one of my absolute favorite pieces in this room is the chandelier. And what I love about it is for a billiard table, and it's made of bronze and brass, and it was done by an artist, all handmade, all the different components come out of it, and it's extraordinary. I had it, again, in the shop for a few years. It was a little pricey, so it didn't sell, and I brought it into my home, and I just think it's one of those things that might live here from now on, because I just think it's kind of perfect over this table. It gives it just enough light, and in the evening it gives that, and it's on a dimmer, so it just has a beautiful ambiance. And then one of my favorite pieces in this room as well, I think I have a lot of favorite pieces in this room, is this angel, Gabriel. And I feel like it's just kind of standing over the table, protecting, making sure that there's like a nice peacefulness to this room. Has the old glass eyes, and again, we talk about patina a lot, how it just has that perfect amount where it's not too painted and no one restored it back to its original, but just let it do the age thing and just get more and more beautiful as the years go by. And this mirror too, it's nice because it kind of reflects the back of the angel as well, so you can see all the detail in the wings, and it's all hand carved, and we'll have to say it's extraordinary. People are always very curious about this beehive and about this piece because they don't know what it is, first of all, but it is actually a French beehive, and I collect them, and you can see there's one over here, and there's two up on top of that shelf right there, and basically the bees build their hives inside, they come straight down, and it's a magical thing to watch them do the harvesting of the honey, and people can't figure out how it works. So I need to have a video in the store to show people, because it really is, the bees are magical. And as you can see, more taxidermy. That's a barn owl that was a gift to me from a friend who is a fellow antique dealer who passed away. So I feel like spirit's living on in this dining room with us all. So I also have to show you this one piece that Kayla Stein created for Chateau Sonoma, and I brought this here because I think it's so special. She did this as a surprise for us, but this is our logo for Chateau Sonoma, and she made a special piece out of the same clay and the glaze that she uses for our tabletop collection. And mushrooms again. Oh my goodness, we have, I must have a mushroom fetish, because we have these are all carved from one piece of wood. And I, again, trying to get these replicated because everybody would love to buy these and I would love to sell them, but it's really hard when there's only one of a kind. So I'm trying to figure out if any woodworkers out there that want to help me on this project. It would be so much fun. It's just like all the detail under here. They paid so much attention, like they just took a mushroom and did exactly what it looked like from the, you know, finish to all the little fine details underneath. So hopefully we'll be able to get those replicated because it seems like a lot of people are very into mushrooms these days, and I think it would be just a fun thing to have in homes all across the country. Okay, so we're just leaving the indoor dining room and heading to the outdoor dining room. So we created this really beautiful overhang here. Kevin, who did the stove top, he's a metal worker that lives here in town, Steel Cherry, and then he built this structure over here, and then we brought this from France, all the way from France on a container. It's the landing of a chateau, it's limestone, it's very, very heavy. It weighs about 4 tons, and they had to bring a skylift over, and we had to build the bases for it to like lay on top of, but I am so happy that we did because it just feels like so permanent and people love sitting at this table. It's always a conversation piece. Perfect height for dining, and it makes everything on top of it look so special. So we love dining here. Even we have farm day, we all kind of sit around this table as well. And this chandelier I absolutely love. I found this at the Paris flea markets north of Paris, and I ruminated about it because it was very expensive, and I thought, you know what, the next day it was still there, and I brought it all the way from France here, and it lights up at night. It's on a timer, so it just sort of gives it the nice glow back here in the backyard. The birds love it too. I'm not quite certain how they got inside, but there's been a nest there every single year that we put it here for the last 3 years, and I think they like it maybe because the light gives them a little bit of warmth or something, but it's just a very fun novelty piece, and I like bringing things that were kind of intended to the inside outside as well. So we just bring this out here for the summertime. So the house is a Gothic Victorian style, 1875, and we worked with the Historical Society. It's not a historical home, so it doesn't have all of the restrictions that we would have to have normally if it were on the registry, but they were very interested in this house because it was one of the 5 homes that was built in Sonoma, one of the first 5 homes. I had thought that it was a kit home, but those didn't start until about the 1900s, and people told me it was a kit home, but in essence it was a custom build, but things were still having to be railed over from the East Coast. So when we took the home down to the studs, there was like big beams that would say Sonoma, California on them. So all the components would be ordered from different companies like Montgomery Ward's, and like the staircase was already built, and then it was railed over. So the components of it were like that. But then the custom work came in with all the plaster moldings, all of the plaster walls. And so we had to replicate all of that, which was very complicated because a lot of people don't do that kind of work in this day and age. So it was a very fun process, but a very cumbersome one. And we had to have some go-arounds because there were some artisans that were like, we can't take these 2-foot moldings and make them anymore. So we would take the plaster moldings and have them redone in wood. The renovation took about a year. It actually happened very fast. People can't believe, like, oh my gosh, you did all that in 1 year. But in fact, we did. We had to put these big beams underneath, and they raised the house up 8 feet. And when that happened, all the plaster started crumbling and cracking. So we had to take it down to the studs. And then all of the knob and tube had to be replaced. So all of the electrical, it was Pandora's box. When we opened up that can of worms, we had to like start dealing with everything from that hadn't been changed probably since the 1930s. And then the windows are one of my favorite aspects of the house because when you look outside, the glass is 150 years old, so it starts dripping over time. So each window that you look out of, it looks like it's a dream. It's kind of wavy glass. So with every visual, it kind of gives it that really dreamy look. But all those windows had to be taken out because they're on the pulley system. And so we had to have a specialist that just dealt with the windows to kind of reframe all of them, redo the pulleys, and get them back in working order. So that was a lot of work. And I had the good fortune of meeting many French people that work on homes. They're called master craftsmen, and they have to travel all over France in order to learn all the different techniques of how to install chimneys, how to install fireplace surrounds, how to do the plaster, all the different kinds of elements that go into the houses. And Pascal is a gentleman who lives here in Sonoma, and he said, I'd be happy to do this work for you. So he installed the fireplaces, he did all of the plaster, and the plaster is so unique because he added color and then he would put another color inside a spray bottle. And so while the plaster was still wet, he would spray it with like maybe some black, so it gives it that really distinct look. So I was really happy to have him. So it kind of has a little bit of a French twist to it, but still staying very true to what the house would have been back then. Okay, and it might get a little louder in here because we have a finch that is very verbal and loves to have conversations in the morning. So I always sit and have my morning coffee right there, and we have a nice chat. This is one of my favorite spots in the kitchen because it's just a nice little, the morning light. You can look outside, you can see views of the pool. And this is all wisteria that grows over this little alcove that we have out here. So it's bright purple. And then the roses are usually orange. It's kind of late summer right now, so we don't have as many blooms, but it still looks very nice because it's all very green. And again, the old glass makes it a nice little dreamy look. So we tried to keep the kitchen as true to how it was originally, but we did have to make some changes. So there was a staircase back here that went up to the room upstairs. So we removed the staircase and we opened this up, and it also didn't have porches. So we did wraparound porches as well, just because people in Sonoma, they like to live inside, indoors, outdoors. So it's kind of a way to experience that here. And I don't know why they didn't have the decks in the original house, but it's really nice that we were able to do that. And this gets a lot more light now that the staircase is gone. But I put in soapstone for the countertops. People thought I was crazy because they're black, but they have this nice, I don't know, timeless appeal to them. And I feel like the house has the black trim, and it was a nice way to kind of keep that going. And marble, I felt, was going to be too fussy for our household. So this is soapstone, picked out my slabs, and then also all of the woodwork for the cabinetry was done by a gentleman from Mill Valley. I think he did a really great job. I was able to find this old vintage hardware from the Golden Lion, which is very period. So I think it kind of fits right into what we're doing and trying to be cognizant of, you know, the house and the integrity of what they would have done in the period of 1875. And the cabinetry as well, we did with chalk paint. And Pascal, who did all of the beautiful plaster, he did it in here as well. He created a really lovely finish, so it looks like it's vintage. It looks old, like it does with the old pieces of furniture. So I'm really, really happy about that. People always ask about the refrigerator because it is, again, very unusual. You don't usually see this, and we wanted it to go with the Wedgwood stove because the Wedgwood stove was included in about 1930. I finally found a guy to restore it, and he comes every year to make sure everything is working properly. But this is a Heartland. They don't really make them in this same style anymore, but basically it is a KitchenAid. It's like a regular refrigerator that they just put a casing over it. So it's been nice. I had to replace my refrigerator one time in the last 15 years, and I was able to take the doors off and add them to the new piece. So it's very vintage looking, I think it fits very nicely into this space. And then Kevin Cherry, who is a metal worker, he used to live here. His sister is Annalise, who was the owner of this house, Jock and Annalise McDonald. And he worked out in the shed over there with all of his metal work. So he does a lot of new builds here in Sonoma and creates custom stovetops and puts in staircases, all kinds of things where you would use metal. And I think it looks absolutely beautiful with the Wedgwood. And again, I try to bring in all my little French elements. So this is enamelware. This is where we house the salt and keep it very vintage. And this is an old tea kettle, enamel tea kettle. And the floors came from Country Floors in San Francisco, and they're actually terracotta. They've been painted, and then they have a little wax finish on the top of them. And I did not continue to use the wax because they were a little too shiny. It's also been able to pick up some of the patina that I really like. So now you can see a little bit over the years, in the last 15 years that we've been here, that the terracotta starts showing through a little bit. Some people may not like that look, but I personally think it kind of adds character and it makes it look like the house has been here forever. So I have all kinds of Ostie de Villat that I love, which is white pottery. Many people collect it. We also carry that in the shop, but it's just these beautiful pieces that you can use for serving, for dinner parties and things like that. So I love that we have the shelving space and we're able to design this so all of my favorite pieces I can showcase when people come over, and we can use them for entertaining as well. What I really love about this house too is it has 2 sinks. So when you have guests over, it's like you have an extra sink, and then we were cleverly put these little drawer dishwashers in too, which I think is a very, very fun element. And then I always stack my cookbooks. So these are the ones that I carry in the shop and what I'm kind of focused on right now with regard to picking out recipes of the week. And French at Heart is really good. These people live in Burgundy in France, and it's my new favorite go-to. And there's always like random things like scales where you can throw some bananas or whatever fresh fruit you're doing, and it's just kind of a fun little whimsical element. I like things that hang because it gives it that other dimension. And then we have champagne buckets, of course, because you always need that when you're entertaining. And these are called gendarmes, and basically they would hold water, and that's what you could see in those cases that have the wicker around them. But I just use them for vases. You can just stick some long stem flowers or roses in here, and they look really, really beautiful. And on to, this is the newest addition, is this table that we just got in on our last container. It's 2 demi-lune tables. So you put them together and they make this beautiful round table. I think they look really lovely. These are wicker chairs that we carry in the shop as well. And I just brought them in because I thought I need to sit in them before and see how they wear before I bring them into the shop. They are beautiful. People love them. They like sitting in them. So it's a perfect. And then these are lovely because they're the demi-lunes. So you could use them as side tables. You can use it as a round table. And I think it's really lovely. And this piece I got a really long time ago from Love Train Antiques in Atlanta. And basically the guy, Mark, would take the old doors from, cabinets or whatever, and he would build the pieces of furniture around these vintage doors, and the hardware on them still works beautifully. And this is where the space that I use to teach people how to do shelfies, because I think it's really fun to teach people how to play with their different things that they in their collections in their kitchens and display them really lovely. Because everything I use, there's the bread baskets here. I use these vases for water and pitchers when I'm entertaining, but it's nice to kind of make them look really fun and display them lovely in your kitchen. In 2001, I was working in the financial industry in San Francisco, and I worked for many banks. I had just gotten married and I had moved to Sonoma, and I was doing the commute back and forth, and it got really tiresome. So we had a building, my former husband and I, in Sonoma downtown, and I just thought, hey, I might just give it a whirl and try a different business. And I've always been into interior design, and I've always loved furniture. So I thought I'd give it a whirl, and I met a woman named Carrie Miller. She said she was leaving her job at this interior design business and that she would love to take me to Europe with her. And she had a friend that had an apartment in Paris, so we started there, and then my plan was to move on to Spain. But we found so many beautiful antiques. She took me to one antique fair called Chateau that's right outside of Paris. And I felt like we hit the mother lode, right? And within like 3 days, we had enough furniture to load up in a container and bring back to Sonoma. So that's sort of the beginnings of Chateau Sonoma. So Chateau Sonoma, when I was flying back from France, on the back of a napkin, just thought like chateau life, castles. There were so many like similarities between life in France and life here, especially in the countryside down in Provence. And we had gone down there as well. So I thought, like, how do I kind of bring this lifestyle to wine country? So that's kind of been my mission for the past 24 years, is to figure out how to continue to travel back to France, learn as much as I can about the lifestyle, and bring all of this home, including, antiques, and we do a little fashion component of Chateau Sonoma, and we do French flea markets. So we took the whole concept of the French flea markets that we love so much, where you have rosé during the day, you're eating, sausage in the morning, and we have all of that we bring to Chateau Sonoma. We do it once a year, Memorial Day weekend. We've been doing that for 20 years. We have a champagne club, so people are very excited about tasting new, smaller houses. And so we're always celebrating everything that the French do. Cheeses and crepes we have in the back of Chateau Sonoma. And the store is just a beautiful reflection of all of our collections over the years and continuing to bring the French lifestyle to Sonoma. And this is the family room. It's so quiet in here. It's on the north facing side of the house. So outside the window is the hydrangeas with the outdoors coming in, and this ginormous tree, locust tree, that's been here since the beginning of probably when the house was built. But what I love about this room is, again, like not doing everything French. This is a contemporary artist from Cuba named Coperi, and he's my absolute favorite artist. And at Chateau Sonoma, we were able to do and have him come to this country, and we did a beautiful show with his artwork, and he even included some elements from Chateau Sonoma. And my son was playing violin at the time, so this is not a picture of my son, but it's kind of the idea. And I just think it's so clever, so whimsical, so charged, and it's just nice to have different pieces that are kind of unexpected. This is an old gym. It's made out of leather. It's a gym mat that was converted into a coffee table, and I love it because it's so comfortable. Again, it's like I think guests feel really at home. They just stick their feet up here and feel no problem doing that at all. Again, I don't want anything to be too fussy. This is a chair that I bought for Chateau Sonoma, but somehow it ended up there, and I was just doing a photo shoot to have a little picture of it, and then somehow it just ended up here. But it actually is, the problem was it was so comfortable, and it's right here by the window. So I always just come here, have my little afternoon drink, and then read a book or journal, and it's just so peaceful. And this bookcase, it's a perfect view of this gorgeous bookcase. Again, I had this at Chateau Sonoma for a while. It didn't sell, and I thought, well, I'll just bring it home and see what it looks like. And I'm glad that I did, because it has all that beautiful work along the top of it with the cutout wood. I feel like it just has so much beauty, and it doesn't have a back to it, so it's just pushed up against the wall with the crossbars, and so you can see the plaster coming through. So it looks like the back of it, but it's actually just the actual wall. And because we have earthquakes here, we had to attach it to the wall, which we've had to do with a lot of pieces. So now I feel like it's a little bit more permanent fixture here in this room. And this is the office, and I love this space because the desk basically looks out into the front of the house, and it's got this nice meandering road it's lined with trees, and I can always see people coming and going. And this old desk, it's again more of a directoire period. It's got the nice little curved legs and black. I have a lot of black in here, but it doesn't feel too heavy, I don't think. But this room is, again, directoire, my favorite designer in France, my favorite antique dealer, Laurence Lenglard, picked this piece out as well, so I love it. It has all of my favorite things. This is what you call a cabinet de curiosité in French, and it's a cabinet of curiosities. So all these interesting little things, from taxidermy birds to old prints, books. This is a globe de mariage that is very cool. So if you're getting married, it has this glass dome that goes over the top of it, but the innards are all made with bronze and mirrors. And so you would put like your tiara on there, or like all the little things that you had from your wedding. It would go under this globe de mariage, maybe a little photo or there's little strands of hair in this one. And I love them just to house nests and things like that. And the glass broke, so I just used the innards in here. But they're very fun. There's two. There's one right here too, and you can see this vintage tiara, the little seed pearls, which I love. And then this fireplace also came from France, and Pascal did the same thing. I have to get that cleaned in there so you can see the brickwork, but it's kind of over the years I've been using it for fires. And this old clock that was in a train station many years ago, and I rarely find them in wood. People always ask if they work, and they don't work because the back mechanisms, in order to get it flush to the wall, you can't have all the mechanisms on the back. But I absolutely think this whole ensemble works very well. And as you can see, I'm a sucker for club chairs too. We have them in the living room, we have them in the office, but this is just a lovely place to come and sit again in the winter. When the winter months come, I light a little fire, and it's just nice to use all the different rooms, because I feel like, again, people just don't have the luxury of having fires anymore. So it's nice just to be able to sit by a fire that brings sort of the feelings of fall and winter into the house, and it's nice to be able to enjoy the different rooms here. And this is the master bedroom, and it has a very Louise Mann, a friend of mine who's an interior designer, created this giant headboard. And she felt like because the ceilings were so high, we really needed to have a big piece. And I had 2 queen-size beds that I had pushed together for a while. And then I decided I just wanted one bed. So my friend Susan Varish helped me with all of the linen covers. And then we have a friend who makes these beautiful pillows, Traco. And we carry these pillows in the shop, which are really nice because she has a sheep farm down in Chile, and she makes all of her pieces with the wool. And I like this bed because I feel like it fits with the scale of the room. This room, we took the ceilings up when we did the remodel in the house and brought it back to the original wood. And so that was just a lovely way to make it seem like a little bit more open instead of having the ceilings down at 8 feet. And also housed my beautiful chandelier, which is pretty much one of my favorite pieces in this room, because it's from the 19th century, and you would put candles in there, and I obviously don't have candles in it, but I think just in and of itself, it's an extraordinary sculptural piece that just stands on its own, even though I could wire it up and put lights in it, but I just kind of like it just the way that it is. I always keep paintings in here, and I like this plaster. It was a very accidental thing. Like, I don't think he meant for it to be so two-toned, but it ended up that way. And again, I just asked him to keep it because I really like it. It looks like the old furniture, and it gives it just that really lovely patina. And I have all my personal pictures and photos in here in this room, and I sometimes do my writing there, but my favorite part of this whole experience is the outside in the morning. I always open up because the sun rises over that horizon over there. I have a nice little place to have my coffee right here. And these gardens, every day it's different. There's many gardens in France that I get very inspired by. So when we did the landscaping here, this was one feature that I loved. You create kind of a framework for your garden with the boxwoods, and I think it really looks better from a bird's eye view than when you're in it. So this is my favorite viewing point. So this is the master bathroom, and what I love, I didn't want to make too many decisions when we were remodeling the house, so I kept the same soapstone, I kept the same cabinetry color, just because I think it's kind of nice when things weave throughout the house, and the floor is the same as it is in the kitchen. And this is one of my favorite pieces in the house. This is an old vintage sign on metal, painted, and it survived all these years. I love the gilding on it. And it's a tailleur de pour dames et messieurs, which is a tailor for women and for men. I love the shape of it. It's got like just this very old world feel, and it kind of ties in all the black again. And we also have this beautiful statue here that I joke with my girlfriends that this is my boyfriend. He doesn't really talk too much, doesn't talk back. He's made of plaster, and you know, we get along. And the mirror kind of just frames everything. This is the one long mirror that I have in the house, and I love it because I can see head to toe, because I don't have too many like mirrors of this size, and the lighting is really good in here as well. And the tub is extraordinary, and the fixtures I think really go well with the house. This came from the company. It's down at the Design Center in San Francisco. It's called the Julia. And I love it because it really does kind of have a period look to it. And this is just a lovely soaking tub. And it's one of my favorite features of the house. And I do take a bath pretty much, I don't know, once a week at least. The way I describe like how I want people to feel when they come in is just like a big bear hug. Like nothing fussy, like just feeling comfortable and at home. That's really, really important to me. And scale for me is important as well. I think sometimes in these ginormous houses where you have a coffee table that's, you know, 5 feet long, and then it sits away from the sofa, and you're going to get a piece of cheese and you have to like get up off of the sofa to get to it. Like I just like smaller. That's what I like about French style, because it's like I feel like smaller, more intimate spaces where you have a chair and a little small table where you can have your coffee or put your appetizers for people to be able to you know, not have to reach, or it's not like this big ginormous space. I like things that make it feel like more comfortable and intimate settings. Okay, so this is the guest room, and I always like to do things kind of in color, you know, in theme. And I just had this painting here. This is from the Little Women illustrator, originally, that did the book, the illustrations for the book. And we bought it at an auction years and years ago, and I decided that it would be a good idea just to make this whole room kind of talk to this one painting, because it's the one kind of piece of actually, you know, period art that I do have. So I thought this would be really fun to kind of bring in some pink. So then these are the Lysianthus that come from the garden, and this room just feels so good. And the fountain is right outside, so at night, if you are sleeping here, people say they sleep like a baby because it's just so soothing with the fountain going at night. Okay, so this is the dressing room. I decided to devote a whole room just to getting dressed because it's so hard when you had this. I had this small closet. It was very dark and I could never find anything, and I had this extra room, so I thought, okay, I'm just going to store things in here. It became a storage room, and then I decided to turn it into a closet. So I had California Closets come in and build out these. And then I have this case that I found. It's an old antique, and it has all these little hooks. It was actually for a hotel where you'd put all the keys, but I was able to just hang my jewelry in here. And it's just a lovely space, and the lighting is perfect. So when you're getting ready, putting on your makeup and things, it's very easy to do and get lots of light in a full-length mirror. And this is some of my favorite photography. Georges Dambier from France was the first photographer to take women outside of the studio and film them in the streets of Paris. And I had the good fortune of going to his home in the south of France where he had to go. He had a triple bypass, and he went back to his family home and lived there. And it was so much inspiration for my gardens here, going to his house, and also his photography. So I bought these 3 pieces, and then my friend Norma Quintana said, "You need another one," and so she dressed me all up and took me to the entryway of my house and just said, "Smile pretty," and she took this black and white that she thought was reminiscent of these painting or these photographs that he did, and I quite like it. I had never had like a professional photo shoot for myself, so it was a very interesting process, but I think it really turned out nice. And it's just a nice way to be able to see everything before you get dressed in the morning. Okay, so this was the wraparound porch that I was telling you about, and this is where we spend most of our time, over on those chairs, or we're dining over here. It's so fun, especially this time of year. It's perfect. And this is the more formal area of the garden that I kind of went to Valandry, and I really like how they used boxwoods to kind of frame everything. So I think it gives it a lot of structure. And then these are the roses, the white roses. They just seem to just bloom all summer long if you keep cutting them back, and so I use them in the house quite a bit. And these are the amazing lemons that keep coming back year after year. We have about 5 trees, and we harvest them every year, and we take them to a gal over called Baker and Cook, and Jen makes the most unbelievable marmalade. It's not too sweet, it has just the right amount of, she doesn't add sugar or anything, and people love it for their cheese platters and things. So we try to, again, use everything on the property. And this huge, probably from the 1930s or from the even earlier, it's a pomegranate tree. And so pretty soon we'll have tons of pomegranates, and we bring them into the shop and we use them for decor on the tables. We eat them, we juice them, we use them for all sorts of things. Okay, so this is the garden that I started when we had a culinary school, and we used to grow all kinds of fruits and vegetables out here, and we would deliver them every week to the culinary school. And since we haven't had it for about 10 years, but I thought I'd like to continue to grow things here in the garden. So this is a potager. And it's late fall right now, so we've already harvested all the field of lavender back there, and then also we have sunflowers that we've all harvested. We still have the lisianthus that's growing and some dahlias over here. But this was all inspired by Chenonceau, a little farm there, and I loved it because they had these granite DG pathways and this very simple fountain that just kind of gurgles. So when people come wandering out here and we're foraging for things for from the garden for the house, when we're doing recipes and things like that, it's just a lot of fun. But again, it's late in the season, so it's not looking as it normally does. And so these are the raised beds over here. It's really fun. Just cinder block that we covered in concrete, and those are great because then you don't have to worry about gophers or anything like that. And another feature that I love is this espalier. So these are apple trees that we just basically trained on rebar and an inch pipe, and they just kind of grow and line the pathways very nicely. And I think people really love this concept. When I've talked about it, like people say, oh, I'm gonna try that in my own garden. It's kind of a lovely feature. Party Girl came when I had my son. So I had my son in 2008, and that was about the time that we moved here. So I was pregnant. We were opening up a cooking school. We were remodeling this house and living in the barn at the time. So it's just like, I thought, oh, I should just get some goats and some miniature horses to add to the menagerie. So Party Girl came at about that time, and subsequently Bubbles was her friend, and Bubbles passed away. But we still have 2 goats. We have Ferdinand and Olivia. And Party Girl is the horse, and she is just a party girl. She's super fun. We let her out on farm day. She runs around the property. We take her on walks. She's just a love. And everybody, when we do have events here, loves to bring Party Girl out. So she's always a part of the excitement. And so this is the vineyard, and it was original, I think in the 1930s. We have some of the original vines over at the beginning, and I was working with a friend of mine, Don Van Staveren, and he makes wine since the 1970s, and he wanted to do this passion project with me, so he helped me revive the vineyard. He got all Grenache plants to grow, so we've been doing this for about 5 years now, and we grow, there's probably about 100 plants, and we make about 15 cases of wine every year. We don't do it for sale. It's a rosé. It's absolutely beautiful. It gets better and better each year. He started using an amphora, which has been really fun. And we serve it at our French flea markets at Chateau Sonoma and all of the events that we host. And so we just split up the amounts that we make. We have it made over at Saintsbury Winery, and it's just a very fun passion project. And how are you guys, huh? I know, we have treats. We have treats, don't worry. So this is Party Girl, who I mentioned before, and this is Olivia, the mother of Ferdinand. They're very, very sweet. They get to come out once a day. Come on, come on. You can have the apple. And they are just part of our little farm life. They're so fun because they come up, and we were painting the deck the other day. Hey, stay down, stay down. Painting the deck the other day, and they come and they're just like part of the family, I'll have to say. This one's a little shy because they're kind of not very nice to you, huh? Yeah, they love apples and they love carrots, but they don't get too many of these. We're treating them very special today, so, you're getting an extra little treat today. This is just a giant hand that came from, it was in the center of a village in France, and it was at an antique dealer with ginormous ceilings, and so we thought we'd bring it back here, and it's made of fiberglass, and the birds all have found like nice little homes in there that they've carved out for themselves, so it's just a very cool piece. People always comment on when they're driving by.
So this is the olive orchard too. So we make our own olive oil. We work with Goldridge over in, they're over in Sebastopol. And so Scribe has been taking our olives right now. So they've been shaking down the trees, and they're going to be doing it in the very not so distant future because it's olive season as well as grape harvest season. Okay, so this is the pool area, and I actually, again, George Dambier, went to his house as I was telling you about the photographs. He also had this amazing pool at his property, and it was all tiled, and I thought it was super extraordinary. And so when we put this pool in, I decided to do the same thing. So I was down in San Francisco at the design center and found this glass tile, which is so beautiful. It kind of reflects in different colors of blue, so it's not just like a normal pool bottom. It has like multi-dimension. I think that's really gives it the je ne sais quoi. And then also it's surrounded, this is all limestone, and this is more rough limestone. I kind of like the rough cut around the pool so it looks a little bit more natural, like you might find it in nature. And not the most practical thing on the planet because some of the rocks sometimes fall into the pool, but I really love the overall look. And then also these white pots, they were used for olives and olive oil, and I just kind of framed the whole pool with them. I think it kind of adds that nice little look, and this is usually planted with white flowers that usually are blooming in the spring and most of the summer. And then we just have some other interesting features, like I like having the mirror at the end of the pool because when you can see it from different angles or you're laying out in the sun, you can see different angles of the backyard. This is a mosaic, it's a crab, and it was made by a Cuban artist named Fuster. And Fuster is an incredible artist, and he lives on the outskirts of Havana. And he went around to all of his neighbors all over and asked them if he could tile their homes. So if you ever happen to make it to Cuba, I highly recommend visiting Fuster's house, because as you're coming in, the whole village is covered in these mosaic tiles, and he's built statues and covered every corner of his house in the tiles. And he's the nicest man. He'll invite you in for a rum, laugh, and treat you like you're his best friend. And this is a crab that we imported from him, and it found its little place here at the end of the pool. Pretty random, doesn't really go with all the other decor that I have that's more French inspired, but it's just kind of a novelty piece, and I will have to say the kids love it as much as the adults. So this is Kala's favorite area in the house too, because she's a water dog, so she spends most of her time in the pool on days like today because it's very hot today. But this is the beautiful seal. It's made of plaster. He's got just a really lovely patina, lovely conversation piece. You can see him in the mirror over here. And this is where we cook out. We have like a really lovely inn. I bought this piece. This is very fun, from France. It's a marble sink, and kind of based this whole area around this sink because I just thought it was so cool. Look at the different color marble that's in here, and it was a double sink already ready to go. So I built this around it, and then this is the barbecue, and I also brought this piece in so it could be sort of act as a buffet. So this gets used a lot in the summertime. It's got a double stove over there as well. So it's just a nice little place where you kind of get an overall view of the barn, the house, the pool, and Kala likes to nap here too because it stays nice and cool here. I feel like this home has its own spirit. Like when people wander onto this property, they don't really know what it is, why they feel a certain way, but I think they just feel good. Like, I don't know if it's all the saging that I do, but I'm not gonna take credit for it. I feel like this is like kind of some sacred space. It's 5 acres. And it just has this vibe, and especially in the barn, you just feel safe and comfortable. And it's just a feeling that you get more than anything is what I love about this house. And I love that every window you look out of, you see the dream. Like I feel, because the landscaping is very beautiful. We have gorgeous trees, the swimming pool out to the side of the house, and it's south facing, so it gets beautiful light from morning until evening. And just sitting in here sometimes, I literally pinch myself every morning when I come downstairs to make my coffee, because I could not feel more blessed to live in this house. And I feel like it's just this building that we pay homage to, and we take very good care of it. Like I just refurbished the decks with Samuel and Juliana. We have a very small but mighty team, and we all work very, very, very hard. I'm not going to say that we have, we're not
actually living in this lap of luxury. We work hard to keep this place looking like it does. And I think that's the other part of it, is that it's just this ongoing, knowing that it's been around here for 150 years. It's being a steward of the house and making sure that it lasts for another 100 years and keeping very good care of it. So what makes a home is just a special place that has like different spaces for entertaining. Like I would say our kitchen is the hub of everything, and we do like recipe of the week at Chateau Sonoma, and we invite friends over, like people that we work with, maybe somebody who's an artist or a neighbor or a friend just over. So we are already making a recipe. So on Wednesdays when we do farm day, we invite people over and share the home with them. So I think that's very important too, to not just live in the little glass house. And you know, I'm all about sharing and having people over. And I have, like I said, a very large family, so I invite them for Easter every year. And my family sets up tents in the yard, and they stay up above the garage and in the barn. So we kind of take over the whole place and set up the badminton. It's just a lot of fun because it happens in the spring. And it's just lovely to get everybody together and have some time where we can, and all the kids watching them go on the Easter egg hunt is super fun. So again, like I think it's just a place where people can come together and share this beautiful experience with other people.
And this is the barn reveal. Love this space. Okay, so this is the barn, and this was built in 1875 as well, and we haven't done anything to it. It was just this way when we arrived. And this is where the horses would be kept over here in this area. We use that for our champagne club that we have at Chateau Sonoma. This is where I store a lot of the pieces that I have for sale that don't fit into the store right now. So we invite people here maybe once a quarter. We pour them a glass of champagne. They kind of wander around this area. And it's always so much fun because there's always treasures to be found. And this room is devoted to all of the antiques as well. And you just had a nice swim, didn't you, Kella? So, and we store all of our tables for our events back here. We host corporate retreats. We've done floral arranging classes out here. We do yoga on Mondays. So it's just a very lovely space that kind of captures all of the events and allows us to have a lot of extra space for our antiques. Okay, so we try to stage this just like we would the store and show people how they can use the various antiques. And it's just fun because it's like we can do different displays, and they look very different when they're in the barn versus when they're in the store, because the store has brick walls and this has more wood. So it just gives pieces like a whole different life in here. And I love the wood floors. They're super rustic. And then we actually built this wall inside here. I said nothing was done to it, but we did put these little panels in just so we could kind of showcase the pieces in here. So this is redwood that we added to that. And I love like these paintings of the lemons and the oranges. And it's kind of the revolving door, comes from the house to here and then to the shop. So we're gonna take it upstairs so I can show you guys a little bit about the event space up there. But let's not forget the swans, because these are showstoppers. When we do events here, we bring them out and put them by the pool. People do little photo shoots with them, and they're always just a very interesting conversation piece. So now we're upstairs in the barn, and this is where all the magic happens with regard to events. We do yoga here on Monday morning, so this huge table gets pushed over to the side. We have all the yoga. And then when we're doing a dinner, like a farm dinner, we put this right back here in the middle, and it's just a lovely place. I love it because it's an old table. It has drawers, and it's just a lovely centerpiece. And then this rug also came from Morocco. We have another zinc top bar up here, of course. And my all-time favorite piece in this whole place is that giant mirror that was on a museum at one time. And it's enamel front, and it always says 5 o'clock, so we always know it's 5 o'clock somewhere for happy hour. And it's just one of those pieces that kind of anchors the whole room, and it just has a really nice feeling in here, like I was saying earlier, that I feel like the animal energy, you feel like you're like in a nest, you look outside, and you feel very secure in here. So I think people really get that feeling when they're up here. They love it. We do very, very good acoustics too, so we host like guitar concerts up here. I'd love to get a piano piano up here. We have a piano downstairs, but not up here. So that's my next goal, but it's just really hard to get it up that staircase over here. And the windows are fantastic. The previous owner actually bought them at a vintage shop and then took out this whole window because that's where the hay would come in with the doors. So he took those out and put these giant windows in, and I think it gives it just the perfect light. And he was a photographer, so he appreciated really good natural light. So I think that was his whole purpose in opening it all up like that.
For me, a home is an expression of who you are. So I love music, so I have a piano in the middle of my house. So in the case that somebody comes over that plays music, there's the piano. I also dabble in the piano myself and have my guitars kind of lying around the house. I think that inviting, and having this place just be a place where people can come and feel good, like for the retreats and things like that, sharing the home with other people, I think is very important. And our neighborhood is very special because when I first moved here, we used to live in downtown Sonoma where the houses were very close together. I knew none of my neighbors, and it was very strange when we moved out here to the country. It's only like a mile from Sonoma, but I feel like the neighbors, it was like the welcome wagon arrived. My neighbor said, come over, and they had all the neighbors show up to welcome us into the neighborhood. And then subsequently we have waffle breakfasts monthly on Sundays, which is so much fun. And I just feel like it's part of a community here.